Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk. We'll be talking with Bill Riley here in about half an hour. We always look forward to that conversation. At 1:30, we're going to be airing our grievances. Tom Callahan from the Locked On Utah Mammoth podcast at noon. The Mammoth with an incredible win last night against the number 2 team in the NHL. Also, interestingly enough, the number 2 team in your own division, but the number 2 team in the NHL. They survived a late onslaught, about 5 minutes of just hanging on after the 2-1 advantage, and Dallas pulled the goaltender with over 2 minutes left. I mean, it was hot and heavy. Guys having to continually clear it, icing after icing after icing, which meant face-off after face-off after face-off on your own defensive end. And thankfully, the Utah Mammoth hang on for a big victory as they continue what has been a really red-hot, dominant homestand, and they're climbing back up more firmly into that playoff picture with this stretch of hockey. And again, important because you're doing it without Logan Cooley in the lineup. He is not on ice. He is not available to you. Bear Turney's done a good job of mixing these lines around after that long road trip. And look, let's be fair to Dallas. Dallas was on the last day of a 10-day road trip. So you probably didn't get the very, very best Stanley Cup playoff version of Dallas, but doesn't matter. No moral victories for them, no moral victories for any pro athlete. Utah Mammoth get 2-1 against the Dallas Stars. A very, very important win for the team, a very, very important win for the playoff standings and staying strong in this home stand. Our show today and every day is brought to you by our friends over at Big Willie's. If you didn't have tickets last night, hopefully you went to 1717 South Main. Put your name in the raffle for tickets on February 4th. 8th row tickets going to be raffled off there. All you have to do is go to Big Willie's at 1717 South Main and say, hey, I heard about this place on the Sean O'Connell Show. I heard about the incredible craft food menu. I heard about your $3.75 drink specials, which is insanely low in the year of our Lord 2026. And I'm just excited to check the place out. Patrick and Michelle are going to be like, hey, put your name in the fishbowl, put your name in the hat here. We'll draw that out on the Sean O'Connell Show. And then on February 4th, that's a Friday night game against the New Jersey Devils, if I'm not mistaken. So get over there, tell them I sent you. Big Willie's. If you can't find it, just look for the cool sports bar with the awesome Mammoth mural on the west side of the building. Is it It's Red Wings? Okay, I thought it was Devils. It's Red Wings.
We said, yeah, Patrick and Michelle said yesterday on the show when they joined us that it was the Devils, but they don't play the Devils that week at all. So, and that day it is the Red Wings. So anyway.
Great. Okay, pardon me. It is a Red Wings game on February 4th. You probably aren't going to care that much about the opponent. You're getting free tickets. All right.
I mean, it's also that's a original six team, obviously. So that's pretty cool. Whenever, if you're a hockey fan or you're new to the sport, whenever an original six team comes to Utah, that's a big deal. Whenever they go anywhere, that's a big deal in hockey. So that'll be a fun matchup.
So we march closer and closer to a big college football championship game on Monday night. You can hear it right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. NFL playoffs this weekend, also on our stations. Saturday and Sunday, you've got matchups. In the 1 o'clock hour, we're going to dive into these. I'm going to put poll questions up. You're going to help me pick the winners of all these games. We're just going money line. We're going straight up. We're not betting against the spread here. Who is advancing? Buffalo, Denver, San Francisco, Seattle. That's the one that actually matters. Houston, New England. And, of course, L.A. Rams versus the Chicago Bears. Trips to the AFC and NFC championship games on the line.
The only game we won't have, there's 4 games this weekend. The only one we won't have is Bills-Broncos because we've got the men's and women's games.
Say Bills-Broncos?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'm like, hold on. Did I say that wrong?
I thought you were alluding to Bill Riley, like
Oh,
Bill's possessive Broncos.
That would
because he's coming up.
You're gonna have to do that when we have him on. Hey, your Broncos are playing the Bills
because he's a big Chiefs fan. And
no, the Buffalo Bills versus the Broncos is the only game we're not gonna have because we've got big day for Utah basketball. Men and women both play at noon tomorrow. OC, the Runnin' Utes versus TCU. Yeah, rivalry, Mountain West rivalry game there at the Huntsman Center. And that's going to be here on your home of the Utes, and then on 92.5 The Beat is the Utah women at Houston. So that conflicts with the Buffalo Bills Denver Broncos game, and not Bill Riley's Bills versus the Broncos. But we have everything, all the other games, including your Niners versus the Seahawks. So that should be a fun weekend.
The transfer portal closes today. This is the end of the transfer portal window. The first time it's been a single opportunity for players and for teams to explore new possibilities in the transfer portal. This thing's been open since the 2nd. We're here at the 16th. If your name is not in by close of business today, close of transfer portal business today, then you're riding out the 2026 season at your current school. I've tried to figure out, talking to people up on the hill, talking to people, person in Provo, how aggressive teams are right now with the tampering.
You only know one person in Provo?
I only know one person in Provo.
No, the whole community. You only know one.
I only was able to get a hold of and talk with one person about this would have any kind of information that would know what I'm even really asking. When it comes to BYU, you don't really need a lot. They didn't have to adjust a ton on a roster that was really, really good this year. And a lot of your best players, including the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, L.J. Martin, he's elected to come back. Bear Bachmeier's coming back. Your most important guys, Isaiah Glasker, has eligibility left. And I don't think that the way his season panned out, there was ever really going to be a question whether he would come back or not. But Glasker is back, and you're going to do what you can if you're in Provo to try and maintain the roster and whatever that you had last year, the success that you had last year, that was heavily dependent on that roster. As you're losing one of the most influential people in the program, Jay Hill, to a Michigan job, and you're losing Gennaro Guilford to other coaching opportunities, like you have to try to maintain the personnel, and they've done an excellent job of that. As we've talked about this week, at the University of Utah, the shakeup is a lot more profound. All of you know this. Head coach, defensive ends coach, offensive staff, gone. Some of the guys that committed to play as freshmen for those guys, out. Individuals who felt like maybe they had other opportunities in the NFL already made their declarations. So there's a lot of things that need to happen. Interestingly enough, and when we get Morgan Scally on, we can talk to him about this. We'll ask him why. J.J. Buchanan, bummer of a loss, right? A lot of the guys that you wanted to keep and you didn't keep were defensive players. And the defensive staff is pretty well intact. I think it shows you how important Lewis Powell was with his relationships with some players in particular. But this transfer portal window, it's the first for a lot of reasons. It's a first for Utah because it is the first of a single window, and it is the first where you're dealing with a Morgan Scally coached team and a new expectation and a new culture. And I imagine a new or adjusted level of NIL commitment from your boosters. Some of the same big ones, some new ones, some old ones, whatever. There's a lot of fresh perspective going on at the University of Utah. And as the transfer portal window closes today, I put a poll question out on the old tweet machine. Is this a net neutral, a net positive, or a net negative when we talk about it next fall? I want your predictive abilities here. Because right now, we have no idea. Because you know someone's name does not mean they're great or they're going to be great. Because you know what's happening with a particular school like San Jose State. Maybe you watch San Jose State, a lot of San Jose State Spartans football last year, and you're just like, oh, well, we got some guys from there because of the obvious McGiven relationships. That's going to be excellent for us. The feeling we had at this time last year where you had a new coordinator coming in, you had a new quarterback. This time you don't have to deal with the new quarterback. You were watching New Mexico film and trying to figure out how directly that was going to translate to University of Utah football. Trying to prognosticate. I'm asking you to do the same thing today because there were plenty of you this time last year who were looking at Devin Dampier, Jason Beck, and saying, like, I'm actually a little bit disappointed that that's what you ended up with. Now, that didn't last very long. That sentiment, that feeling, I don't think lasted very long. I don't even think for most people that lasted through camp. I think that you got to hear a few things from Devin Dampier. You got to hear a few things from camp. I think this year, knock on wood, fingers crossed, Morgan, please, 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 we'll actually get to see some things, I believe, in spring ball and in camp from a practice perspective. But at the end of the day, what I'm really asking you for is your prediction on whether or not this was a net neutral, a net gain, or we can be realistic about it. In the first year of Morgan Scalley's tenure, is it a net loss for Utah football? Because you lost John Henry Daly, very, very, very difficult to replace. You lost Teo Johnson, I think you're fine. You lost Smith Snowden. Some games it looked like that was a big thing to replace. Other games it's like, what's going on with Smith right now? You lost Dallas Vakalahi. That's not somebody any of us wanted to see go. I think he's going to regret that decision. I don't wish that upon him. When you read the tea leaves of what Matt Campbell, who's the new head coach at Penn State University, when you see what he has done and his assistants have done with defensive linemen, I just don't think that Dallas Vakalahi, if it's a football decision, is going to feel like he made the right football decision. Jonah Lea'ea, again, a bright talent, but also, if we're being realistic with ourselves, and I'm doing my best to not just be an apologist and a good riddance guy, because I don't feel that way about these players. But when you get a bunch of run yardage racked up on you, one of the primary things that you blame is your defensive tackles, your defensive linemen, because either they're not stopping up the gaps or they're not gobbling up the blocks so that your linebackers can stop up the gaps. And culpability for those bad rushing performances, bad rush defense performances toward the end of the season belongs to everybody on the defense, coordinators, linebackers, everybody, right? I think that most of us underestimated how valuable John Henry Daly was in setting an edge and on being a run defender, because we got all wrapped up in his sack totals and his QB pressures. Guy was just a monster no matter what the opposing offense was doing, right? So in order to make it a net neutral for just that one player, for example, for John Henry Daly to be gone and for you to say, all right, well, it's not a net loss for us at that position unless, question mark, unless what? Unless you can't get, for me, you can't get the same number of sacks from however many guys you brought in feeling like you were trying to replace him. You're probably not going to get it from one person. You're probably not going to have a guy who's second in the conference, second in the nation. Maybe you do. Maybe you will. I don't think it's smart to try to rely on one person to do those things. Then again, there were only a select few of you, and I give you credit. Those of you, when I said who's going to be your defensive MVP this year, who's going to be your breakout player this year, who's going to be, there was a handful of you that said it's going to be JHD. Well, you wouldn't have thought that watching his 2024 season, right? Credit to him, credit to his coaches, credit to everyone for getting that out of him. How do you replace him? Have they done enough to replace him? When I asked yesterday or 2 days ago, I said, Go ahead and tamper. Be the Utah GM and find me something in this transfer portal. Find me something that's not yet in the transfer portal and convince them to jump into the transfer portal and let's get this guy. I said, what do you need? And defensive end was one of the answers for people. So when I'm asking you the question of, is this a net gain, a net neutral, or a net loss? I'm not talking about production from last year. I'm not talking about reputation. I'm not talking about name recognition. I am talking about midway through the 2026 season. Give me your prediction. Are we going to look back on it and say that was the first time that Utah's experienced a net loss in the transfer portal? Or, hey, we were really wringing our hands back in January. Turns out this was a net gain for us. Maybe we'd be even better if we had JHD still, or we'd be even better if you had Jonah Le'ea still. But look at these guys we brought in. Look at this kid from San Jose State. Look at this Wyoming guy. Look what our defensive line is now, right? I'm asking you, the listener. I'm asking you, the Utah football fan. I'm asking you, the person who over the last couple of weeks has expressed a lot of angst, a lot of distaste, a lot of displeasure for this environment. How do you feel right now? I don't think we're going to get any big breaking news that Utah loses another big talent or that they gain another super prominent, recognizable talent. Right now, 26% of the respondents coming in with a net positive, 32% saying a net neutral, 41% of you say that this was a net loss in the transfer portal. It will be judged next season as a fill in the blank, net positive, net neutral, net loss. There's some names you know. There's some names you got to like. John Henry Daly is the one for me that I'm just like, oh, that hurts, man. J.J. Buchanan, I like the player. I really do. But Braden Pegan is a better version of J.J. Buchanan. Now, he's not a younger version. He's not as young. So if we were talking about this on like a 3 or 4 year trajectory, obviously J.J. Buchanan, you're like, let me get that young guy. And J.J. should make a leap between his freshman year and his sophomore year. So a leaping forward J.J. Buchanan is going to be formidable in that Michigan blue. But you have a much more established product in the guy coming down from Utah State, and a guy that knows this system, knows this coordinator, and has similar measurables, similar physical attributes to JJ, while also having double the production.
And don't you think, OC, don't you think we've gotten to the point where it's not even realistic to be looking more than a year or two down the road anyway?
That's, I think, a very important thing, a very important point to make here. I mean, thankfully they fixed the window. Otherwise, we'd be going, hey, dang, dude. I'm really glad we have these guys until the end of spring ball.
Can't look past spring. Yeah.
I saw someone, I don't know who it is. If you're listening right now, clever from you. I saw someone tweet out yesterday, which hypothetical wide receiver number one are you more upset about losing? Zach Williams, who had 10 catches for 100 yards when all of us were crowning him as the next best thing for Utah football, or Celesi Moa, who, of course, has 0 catches for 0 yards in college football.
How do you replace that production, OC?
And look, I'm not trying to downplay the importance of stacking talent on your roster. I promise you I'm not. But the panic reactions that are very natural and very understandable are probably somewhat misplaced. And also, these are even if Utah does experience, like 41% of people are expecting, a net loss in this transfer portal class, a net loss of talent doesn't mean the end of the world. A net loss doesn't mean you end up having a miserable year next year. Maybe it means that you're back to pass rush by committee. Maybe it means that, Cash Dillon and Lance Holtzclaw and whoever else are kind of evenly splitting those QB pressures and those sacks. I don't want to expect that, but prior to this year, when was the last time that Utah had a double-digit sack man? It had been like 4 years, 3-4 years.
Jonah Ellis, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, that's it. Unless the last Pac-12 championship year there was one too, but I don't think there was. 2022, there may not have been. I think it was more of a group effort kind of thing.
So again, it might not look the way we think it's going to look. We're going to have to learn some new names. This is the nature of college football these days. But I want you to weigh in on Twitter at Real OC Sports. I want you to weigh in at 877-353-0700. Net neutral, net loss, net gain. Taylor Cram says it'll be a net gain when looking back next year, and that's what's so important. 9708 says, I'd say neutral or slightly below neutral. The potential is better, and that's interesting. I'd like to actually have you explain more when you mean the potential is better. Like, I keep talking about what a loss John Henry Daly is. For 2026, I don't think John Henry Daly is much of a loss. Because even if he was on your roster, I think his production was going to be lost.
And when you say even if he's on your roster, even if he plays, but I don't think he's going to play OC. I don't buy the. We've said this before. Me and you, and I think many others don't buy that. Hey, I'm going to be fully recovered from an ACL or an Achilles tear by spring football, let alone before the season starts. I don't think he's playing for He Who Shall Not Be Named's program next year. I don't think so. So it's more like the years afterward that will really hurt, might really hurt for Utah football. But then by then, who knows? Maybe Cash Dillon, maybe one of these other guys they got in the portal pops and sticks around long enough to where you don't forget JHD, but you don't worry about that anymore.
I only go net neutral, 7953 says, because I don't see JHD being healthy and performing the same next year. That's one, like, he might be the crux of this whole question. If somehow by a medical miracle he is 100% healthy and productive and gives Michigan 15 sacks, we're going to look and just be like, well, it's hard to say that it was a net positive when that guy had another All-American year. I don't foresee that being a reality for Michigan, so maybe he's the crux of the whole conversation. Juan Soto says we are about to enter another dark age of Utah football.
Juan Soto of the Mets is a listener of the program?
Apparently so.
I mean, I knew we were big in Queens, but I didn't know Juan Soto was
2494 Juan Soto. That is the pessimist stance. I'm not going to poo-poo you because there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know. I feel more confident in Morgan Scalley's abilities. I feel more confident in what we know of Jordan Gross's mastery of the game of football. I feel more confident because I have, I think, a little bit deeper knowledge of what Colton Swan is capable of as a defensive coordinator. My best friend's younger brother was on those Weber State playoff teams. I mean, he's like my own little brother. He's a guy I've known him literally since the day he came home from the hospital, and he ended up having a great high school career and played at Weber State, and he was part of those teams. So I watched a lot of that Weber State football when Colton Swan was the defensive coordinator. He did an excellent job. They had All-American players at defensive end, at defensive tackle, at linebacker, and at defensive back while he was the defensive coordinator. Not all at the same time, but they had at least one of each. That's pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, was John? No, I can't. The blanking on the name. The Bills' defensive back that's from Weber State, Taron Johnson. Was he on those defenses? I think he might have been.
I believe he was. I just want to make sure. How long has he been in the league?
I think it's been since 2017.
So he's 29 years old. Yeah, so he would have been part of those Colton Swan coordinated defense.
So that's a gigantic name. You know, it's like him and Rashid Shaheed that are the biggest names to come out of Weber State, and that's a guy that Colton Swan coached as the defensive coordinator. So that alone should give you a lot of
Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year, by the way, in 2017. So, yeah, look, Could it be another dark age of Utah football? If you're talking about a dark age, you're going back to like Jim Fossil, pre-Jim Fossil. That's, I'm not going to get on board with that. Now, if you're talking a dark age relative to consistent 10-win seasons, constant conference championship contention, maybe.
I suppose that's if that's how you look at the Coach Mack years, even though he had plenty of years where they're in conference championship contention. Then sure, maybe it could be back to early 2000s, 90s Utah football. But that's dramatic for me, OC. Well, I just don't see it being even. That's not bad, by the way, but I don't see it being that much of a regression from what we've got from what we had from the most recent era.
I guess you have to, if you really want to drill down on what's a dark age, like the back-to-back 5 and 7 seasons under who shall not be named. Was that a dark age of Utah football, or was that a transitional period that you had to grow into being a Pac-12 team?
I feel like it's too short of a time span to say that was the recent dark age of Utah football. I'm with you. It's probably, like, if we're being technical about it, it's probably pre-Coach Mack that was really the dark age of Utah football.
Listen, you're not going that far back.
Yeah.
If you go that far back, it is an abject failure of leadership on every level at the University of Utah. That's not going to be allowed anymore. There are too many people with influence, right? Like, let's say, and again, this is a rank hypothetical, but let's say, to entertain the possibility that Morgan Scalley is drastically overwhelmed, which he won't be for like 4 years. You think they're just going to ride it out and let it continue? No. They're going to say, Morgan, go back to being the defensive coordinator. We're going to do something else here. It's just, that's not going to happen. A dark age is not coming. Now, are there going to be is there going to be a 6 and 6 season? Is there going to be a 7 and 5 season? Is there going to be a 5 and 7 season somewhere along the way? Maybe. Potentially. Will it be continuous? Will it be sustained? I just can't buy it. I will not buy it. I don't believe it. So I'm gonna let you have your space to say your negative prediction, but I'm not gonna believe it with you. 9708. This is a nice one, all right? I think there's a higher upside with the interior D-line and stopping the run better in the all-around defense. Losing JHD's sacks hurts, but the Achilles kind of equals it all out. Snowden and Teo reached their ceiling. The incoming guys could blossom better. Who knows? But it's hard to replace that. I'll take the proven wide receivers coming in over Buchanan's potential. When you just look at your familiarity with the names, you go, oh, this is a net loss. Oh, no. Oh, no. When you drill down a little bit further and you say, okay, but what did you bring in? What did Morgan Scalley and company bring in? And I'm a believer in not 100% direct translation of effectiveness, but if you're a really good player at the group of 5 level, you're going to be a good player at the power 4 level, right? Look no further than Devin Dampier, who, and this is the best point that's coming in. What elevates Utah's ceiling more than anything else is the fact that Devin Dampier being healthier next year, and even in a tragic situation where he is not, having Bird Ficklin on the roster to go to just in case, that is the ceiling or the floor for Utah football. It'll be those two guys more than anything that set where Utah football is at. Yes, this is a program built on defense, run stopping, running the ball itself. But the years that Utah football has been great, it has not been because of that culture and reputation. It's been because of the culture and reputation being accessorized with what? Great quarterback play. You can have a really good season if you have great quarterback play and everything else is just average. Look no further than Colorado last year. Not this year, last year. Shedeur and Travis Hunter, right? They had 2 really, really good college football players. They had like 5 pretty solid to, well, Jordan Seaton is more than pretty solid. So they had 3 really, really good
receiving
college
core
football players.
Good receiving core, and outside of that, not a whole
So
lot.
you had Shador, some really good receivers, one elite receiver.
Yeah.
And then you had like kind of meh everywhere else.
Right.
And you still were a solid team that kept themselves in the conversation for a conference championship. And look, were they as successful as Utah wants to be? No. Is that anything close to being a dark age? No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Now, when those guys left, yikes. But them's the breaks. Okay. Got to take a break here because I want to get Bill Riley's thoughts. Bill Riley, the voice of the Utes, is going to join us. We'll ask him about this net neutral, net gain, net positive, net whatever. And we'll get into some hoops talk with Bill because he's on those games as well. You're listening to the Sean O'Connell Show on a Friday. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. When you hear that music, you know who's coming out the tunnel. It's the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley. Kind enough to join us here on a Friday. Welcome, Bill. How are you?
OC, it is great to talk to you. What's going on?
You know, we're just processing, or we're not actually processing anything. We're predicting how we're going to be processing this transfer portal as the window comes to a close today. And, you know, Morgan Scalley embarks on this new job as the head coach instead of the defensive coordinator. and he finalizes what the roster is going to look like for next year. I'm trying to remember how we felt this time last year, and of course there was another spring window that affected things, but trying to remember where we were at with like, okay, is this team better than it was? Did you replace everything that you needed to replace, et cetera, et cetera? And obviously this has been a tumultuous time for Utah football, but the question is out there. Net gain, net loss, net neutral, when we look back like halfway through the 2026 season, how are we going to evaluate the way that this transfer portal window worked out for Utah?
Let me start with this first, and then I'll answer your question, or at least attempt to give a thought on it. I still don't understand why the transfer window is in early January. I don't get that. Why not just make it in May? Make it the first week of May, the first 2 weeks of May. Make these kids commit to a school for a full year. You'll still have summer. You'll still have fall camp. There's just so much chaos. I know that, but I mean, if we're really and truly still going to call these kids student athletes and they're going to school, most school starts back in early January. I mean, let them go to a school. There's nothing going to be lost. You don't have to be in spring for another. You can get there in May and June and do workouts and then go to fall camp and still be an impactful player. There's just way too much chaos going on with this right now. I'm all for kids going to play where they want to play. I'm okay with the transfer portal to an extent, but why we have it in January and not just do it a one time in May? Make them stay in school, make them focus. You're still working out with your football team, doing all that stuff. And then after you've completed a full year of school, whether it's fall and then spring, then you can look ahead. It makes zero sense to have this thing in early January and not do it in late April or May.
Bill, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I made the same point when it was announced that it was going to be this January window, and I was like flummoxed when the coaches' convention where they kind of decided what proposal to put forward, the coaches themselves were like, no, we want it to be this window instead of a post-spring ball window. It's like, why would they want that? And it's funny because now there's a lot of coaches complaining about the fact that this is when the window is happening. So I guess it's a be careful what you wish for situation for some of those guys. One thing that gives me solace and comfort is if we get to a situation where this spring, summer, the coaches gather again and talk and are just like, you know what, that actually kind of sucked having to figure it all out in that New Year's Christmas break. Let's reevaluate this thing. Now college sports have been a lot more nimble in just adopting new policies, like with this singular window, like with an expanded college football playoff. So if it's determined by the people who actually are affected, they will end up changing it quickly.
And I get it. Some of these kids, their coaches leave, they go to other jobs. They're not that's okay. Nobody's saying you cannot transfer. But doing a mid-year thing, I mean, some of these kids are going to be enrolling in class. Semester has already begun. It makes zero sense. If you want to follow your coach to his new destination, you guys can talk offline. You can go through spring football. You can do a lot of things. You can have more meaningful meetings with the coaching staff that you're currently playing for or a new coaching staff coming in. Nothing is preventing these kids from being able to transfer. It's chaos. It's chaos for the kids. It's chaos for the programs. It's just general chaos. And I just think a lot of that can be cleared up if you make it in late April, early May. Hey, we're in a society, Sean, where everything has got to be immediate gratification. It does not have to be immediate gratification. These kids can still get to where they want to be, but it just doesn't have to be right now. It can be later. And then you might be able to make a more, a more honest, a more clarified decision on where you're going and what your future is, and not get caught up in the emotions of the moment by letting some time go by. So that's my soapbox for now. I don't mind the portal. Just tweak the portal a little bit, and I think it could be good for both sides. Anyway, the question again was?
When we look back on it halfway through next year, are we going to say, oh, yeah, we panicked for no reason. This was at least a net neutral or maybe even a net positive? Or we'll be looking back on and saying, all right, Morgan's got some work to do this coming January in the transfer portal to make sure that we get this roster back to where it needs to be. Will we be judging positively or negatively what has happened so far?
I'm going to say for now, I'm going to go net neutral for now. And I say that, and that sounds like I'm copping out just a little bit, but the portal closes today, but that just means you can't enter in the portal. There's still a couple of thousand kids in there, and I don't think that Morgan and his staff, I think you're going to see more names added to this Utah roster in the coming weeks. That's just my guess. Today's portal closing just simply means you can't put, unless you're a graduate transfer, you can't put your name in. If you're a freshman or a sophomore or a junior, you can't go in the portal after today. So I still think there's going to be some – I want to let it play out a little bit, but I just think it's too soon to know. You know, there have been certainly names that have left the program that have apparently committed to other programs, and I get that. And there's been names that have come in. I like some of the names that I've seen that have come in. I think – the biggest portal news for Utah is the return of not one but two quarterbacks. You have a guy, and I said this on my podcast, by the way, the Crimson Corner drops today, where you get your favorite podcasts every week. So jump on there, listen to some of that. But I think returning Devin Dampier, who was the Big 12 newcomer of the year and the third-team all-conference quarterback, Sean, I think they've built some nice pieces around him and have some nice pieces coming back. And I think there's a very good chance if Devin makes the kind of progress, maybe it's not as big as it was from New Mexico to Utah year one, but even if he makes incremental progress, he's going to be close to a 3,000-yard passer and close to a 1,000-yard runner again, and his interceptions are down. But there's no reason in the world Devin shouldn't be in the running, if not the favorite, to be the conference quarterback of the year next year, based on what he's got surrounding him. So that and having Bird Ficklin there as not only just an insurance policy, but Bird's going to be, I figure Kevin McGivern is going to find a way to work him in. I think the offense has a chance to be actually better next year than it was this year, and it was really good this year. I don't know if they'll run for as many yards as they did next year. We'll see. That offensive line was unbelievable. I mean, it was an NFL offensive line. And I think Jordan Gross is going to be a good coach. He'll fill in nicely for Jim Harding. But, you know, it's hard to replace two NFL tackles. I think all five of those guys have a chance to be on NFL rosters next year. But I think that there's enough in the program and enough coming in to know that Utah's offensive line at worst next year will be good. At best could be really good again. So I think the offense is good. And on the defensive side, yeah, there were some key losses. Some guys that might hurt a little bit. Some guys that may have out kind of run their course in the system. Haven't been as many big names coming back in the portal right now. But the thing about Utah on defense is that's where you've really always seen that great development over the years. Defensive line, linebackers, secondary guys. It's what the head coach's forte is. I heard you talking about Colton Swan. I'm so happy for Colton to get this opportunity. Really excited to have Derek Odom, who's been a defensive coordinator for a number of years, come back to his alma mater and coach the position that he coached when he was here the first time. Guys like Eric Weddle and Steve Tate and Casey Evans were playing for Derek Odom. So I'm going to go net neutral for now, but I don't think some of the losses that we've seen in the portal for right now might be as big as we think they are. I think we kind of get caught up in the emotion of the moment. I don't know if some of those guys are going to be as impactful at their next stop as they were at Utah, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. For the sake of time, I want to switch things to basketball here because you had a big rivalry game, right, where I think Alex Jensen's crew accounted pretty well for themselves against a stacked Cougars roster. Ultimately, they come up short. And, you know, it's not good enough. And then I don't know if that performance, there was fatigue associated when you went and you took on another really, really good Texas Tech team. But, I mean, that's a nasty little 1 week, 2 week stretch they had, even leading up to the BYU game and then finishing it with Texas Tech. And that's just the nature of things in Big 12 play, winless so far in Big 12 play. But is this team making the incremental progress? Are you seeing the things that you need to see because you're closer to it than any of us are, that makes you feel like Alex Jensen's going to get this figured out sooner than later?
Well, 3 of their first 4 games were against top 15 teams and the best team in the country. I think Arizona is the best team with the fewest flaws, if any, in the country. And Texas Tech and BYU are both Final Four caliber teams. I'm not saying they'll be there, but they've got the horses that they could get there. That's tough. Tomorrow's TCU at noontime, and you've got Kansas State. There are wins on the schedule, but for Utah to win this year, yeah, you asked a question. Has there been incremental progress? Yes. But, they're still making some of the mistakes they've kind of made in some of these big games. You got to kind of clean those up. You make those mistakes against the number 1, the number 9, and the number 15 team in the country, those teams can really punish you. You clean up some of those mistakes, and then you get into stretches against, teams that are good but maybe not elite, or teams that are middle of the pack. Then you've got some chance to stack some wins. I am seeing progress. Where I really like to see the progress, Sean, is with some of these younger guys. Obamate Abbey, Kendall Sanders, 2 guys that are freshmen that they didn't really think would play huge roles this year are turning out to be really good players. Terrence Brown, Don McHenry, good scorers. They're going to continue to do some of that stuff. But yes, some of the stuff, you can really see the improvement from week 1 to where we are now. But to be really good in the Big 12, you've got to eliminate those little mistakes and those small stretches. Utah was 24-23 on the road at Tech the other night, which was a great atmosphere. They made a couple of small mistakes. All of a sudden, it's an 18-1 run, and they're down. Those are the things you can't have happen home or road against good teams in the Big 12.
Bill Riley for another minute or two here on the Sean O'Connell Show, talking all things Utah athletics. So you've got a Utah football program that is in a state of change and flux. You've got a basketball program that is now embarking on its first season after a change. You've got a women's basketball program that's doing pretty well. Red Rocks are going to be what the Red Rocks are going to be. And now you've got this private equity thing that was a huge story when it launched, and all of us are kind of like waiting and looking to see what kind of effect it's going to have on the programs and on the university and things like that. How soon do you think it is before people can tell and see the fruits of those labors?
I don't know, Sean. I think they're in the works of finalizing. I'm not I'm not at that level of meeting. I think they're in the process of finalizing the deal, and I think once they finalize the deal, then I think you'll begin to see more of a timeline as to when, Otro and the university become kind of partners, when it's on campus, when it gets rolled out. So I think. And from, some of the information that I've been told, I think January, where we're at right now, and we're midway through January, was the month that they were looking to work out the details and finalize the deal. And then I think after that's done, I think we begin to see some of the more, more intricate stuff on how the inner workings of it will work and how it will roll out coming after that. So obviously it'll probably be by summer or fall for sure, but I think once the deal's finalized, more details probably come out.
Which NFL teams are emerging victorious this weekend?
Well, sadly, for the first time in more than a decade, I do not have a team to root for in the playoffs this year. I'm not complaining.
You'll be okay.
I will be just fine. My rule of thumb is you're not allowed to complain about your team within 5 years of a Super Bowl win. Well, I had 3 in 5 years, so I can't complain for like the rest of my life about anything Kansas City related.
Winning multiple Super Bowls, they reset your complaining clock like Phillip Rivers coming out of retirement. You know what I mean? Like it pushed back his health insurance. Right.
Yeah. I'm going to look at it this way. Bronco fans are going to think I'm hating on the Broncos because I'm a Chiefs fan. They have an outstanding defense that didn't play great down the stretch. I don't fully trust Bo Nix, and I think if Josh Allen is ever going to have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, it's this year with no Mahomes, no Burrow, no Lamar Jackson, no in his way right now. So I'm going to say Buffalo pulls an upset. I think your bang-bang Niner gang probably run into a little bit of a brick wall against the 12th man tomorrow, but I think what Kyle Shanahan did this year with the Niners has been phenomenal. Boy, the game that it's hard for me with is this Houston-New England game.
It's a weird one.
The Houston offense stinks. C.J. Stroud has gone backwards. They stink. But their defense is like 86 Bears, 99 Ravens level defense. But I like Vrabel and I like Drake May, and I think that's like a 10-7 game in New England. And then I think the Rams and the Bears run because I think Stafford and he's got his healthy team. And I think the Bears have been a fun story, and they're a great, but I think the luck kind of runs out this weekend. So the one big upset I'm picking is Buffalo at Denver, and then I think I take the home teams after that. I'm sorry, the two home teams and then the Rams on the road.
That's Bill Riley. Our conversation with the voice of the Utes is brought to you by Handy and Handy Attorneys at Law, handylawutah.com. What do you know about these guys, Bill?
Well, I've known them for a long time, Preston, Garrett, Handy. They're great guys. They used to pop on my show back in the day. We'd talk sports and law, which they do with Spence now. I think they're great people, and when you need a personal injury attorney, you want good people representing you and good people to do good work. And that's exactly what the Handies do. So if you happen to have been into an accident, somebody in your family is something on the job, a car wreck, something, and you need somebody to tell you what's what and to fight for you on your side, that's what Preston and Garrett Handy will do. So you can find them online at handylawutah.com.
Bill, thanks for your time. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Sean. Talk to you soon.
Bill Riley, voice of the Utes. Hot Lunch is next on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Let me tell you why I love the hot lunch. Let me tell you why I love Big Willie's and the incredible craft food menu they've got at 1717 South Main Street in Salt Lake City. Yesterday, Patrick and Michelle brought in the Big Willie burger, which is just unbelievable. You heard him. When they make the patties, they chop up bacon into fine little bits, and they work it into the ground beef. So your patty actually has little bacon bits inside of it, which is that's a win. And they also brought in their tachos, tater tot nachos. It's the best way to describe them. Taco seasoned ground beef, refried beans, pico de gallo, jalapenos, and instead of being on top of tortilla chips, on top of tater tots. Excellent. Little salsa, little sour cream. You got yourself a win. But, Patrick realizes, I know OC, I know Sean O'Connell, and he ate way too much in the hot lunch yesterday. So today I'm going to send him a nice little salad. The crispy Cobb salad is what they brought us. Excellent. Perfectly cooked bacon, chicken cutlet chopped into exactly correct bite-sized pieces, blue cheese crumbles, tomato, hard-boiled egg chopped up again into perfectly crumbled bite-sized pieces, and you've got yourself a nice little salad, especially with the house-made ranch or the blue cheese, whichever you want, over the top of it. An excellent, excellent Friday meal, because if you're like me, you're going to go a little bit too ham sandwich on these NFL playoff games this weekend. I'm going to be eating way too much. I already have the tomahawk steak, James.
Okay.
I've already got my plans on the reverse sear. I know exactly what my internal temperature is going to look like, and I am going to go nuts on that thing.
Are you how do you like your steak? Is it rare? Okay, I
like my steak rare.
Gonna guess that.
I like it. And medium rare is also great. Just don't overcook the steak. If your steak is medium, it's overcooked, in my opinion. Medium rare is totally fine. I prefer rare, and those big, thick tomahawk cuts, they're a lot easier to make rare because, obviously, they're so huge. Okay. So I'm a big fan, and I'm very much looking forward to that. That little Parmesan mashed potato over the weekend, it's going to be a great one.
Got a nice little weekend plan.
Setting up a nice Friday hot lunch with the Cobb salad. And perfect thing to talk about during the hot lunch, as we dive deeper and deeper into the legend of Curt Cignetti, the man who is, I think, going to coach Indiana to their first ever football national championship and complete probably the greatest story we've seen in college and maybe American sports. I don't know what the time span is since, like, the Miracle team that beat the Russians. I don't know. I mean, it's huge. This is massive if Indiana can pull this thing off. Curt Cignetti is, and you find this out about coaches and you find this out about, like, the billionaire CEOs of certain companies. They are very, very, very dedicated to the craft in such a way that things the rest of us care about just go away. Like, what do you want to eat, coach? Curt Cignetti orders the same Chipotle burrito bowl every single lunch, every single day. As he estimated over 500 times he has had exactly this thing. Chipotle burrito bowl, rice, beans, chicken, side of guac. That's
good
it.
Call. That's a good call.
Rice, beans, chickens, side of guac. It's simple. It's effective. It's nutrient dense. It's not excessively fatty. You're not going to feel heavy. You're not going to be burping up while you're trying to talk to your team. You're not going to get any kind of gastric distress. Well, you might with Chipotle. You never know. But these guys that are at, like, I mean, the Mark Zuckerberg, I wear the same clothes for the 10 years kind of thing. It's so fascinating to me. I actually kind of admire the clothing thing. If you just have the same outfit over and over on rotation and you eliminate the difficulty of that, that's fine. That's cool. I like that.
Hey, he doesn't have time to be thinking about the clothes he's wearing. He's got to be thinking about innovating at the tech and social networking level.
And guess what? Right? Now he's like a testosterone jiu-jitsu bro. So he now is back to wearing varied clothing, and He's all in on AI, so he doesn't have to think about anything anymore. He's just letting the machines think for him.
There you go.
But Curt Cignetti...
More AI talk on the Sean O'Connell show after yesterday?
This I cannot understand. I cannot understand being just like, I don't care what I eat. Just give me that thing over and over and over again. Like, you have access, Curt Cignetti. I know that the Athlete's Kitchen at the University of Indiana is up to par with everyone else now in the nation. I know that without being told so. One day you say, surprise me. Give me a steak. How would you like it, Coach? Medium rare or redder, whatever. Give me a Pittsburgh, blue in the middle. I don't care. What do you want today, Coach? I don't know. What's the chef making? You don't even have to give him a Chipotle order. You just say, bring in whatever they give me. You're eating Chipotle every day instead? I can't understand this.
I mean,
Food is a thing I will not compromise on, James.
They must be a gigantic sponsor of the program or something.
They're going to be now.
They're going to be.
They just got free commercials on every sports station in the world, including the Pat McAfee show.
And ours, which arguably is bigger than Pat McAfee. By the way, speaking of
Probably
Pat McAfee, did you see the relay they were doing while you were talking to Bill?
I was.
One of the second guy who ran, his arms flailing.
He looked like he had never run before in his life.
He looked like he was going to fall over like 5 different times. Somehow he stayed upright. That was incredible. And then the guy after him sprinted the whole way. I'm like, do you guys know how a relay works? That's your anchor right there. Anyway,
I got to tell you, when we as a country have to stop showing complete non-athletes running on television, jumping on television, because our enemies are out there, all right? There's like some Russian cabal. There's some like deep state Chinese and North Korean
You've been to
alliance.
Dubai. You probably have talked to some of these.
And these people are just like, we don't have to be scared of Americans anymore. Look how they run. It is so terrible.
Did you see white tank top guy in the Pat McAfee show relay? In my head, I kept reading replay.
Yeah.
It's relay.
You're some like Siberian hard ass, and you're just like, we never worry about America. You see how these men run? I'm not scared of America. Like, you cannot show people that this is that anyone in our country has that level of coordination and fitness. America's place on the global stage was secured for the longest time with what, James? Military strength, athletic dominance. Olympics, who has the most gold medals? Oh, it's the Americans again? What a shock. And people projected that because you didn't have shows like this, right? The only television people were watching in these other countries were the Olympics or the news where, like, the Navy SEALs were doing something cool, and they're just like, man, these Americans, they are just built different.
Can't mess with those guys. Now we have too much of this. I agree with you.
Now you got these guys that have never sprinted before in their life. They've never done anything more than a brisk walk, being given a platform to run on air. I'm out. Don't do it anymore.
By the way, the course which was just a straight line, but the end of the course is a little precarious with the little dip at the end. I'm like, I would not run that.
I'll tell you what, James, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You've called that a little bit precarious, like a 3-degree incline with a 4-foot elevation. That's not precarious.
I'm saying when you're doing a replay again. When you're doing a relay, you expect a flat ground like that.
Every child on the planet can make that run no problem, and then these guys stopped running after age 12. Don't put them on television. All right.
Early grievance. Apparently against the Pat McAfee show.
We got an hour and 25 minutes till we allow you to air your grievances. You can bring them in on the text line whenever you like, 877-353-0700. 1:30 is when we're going to read them. We'll jump into the Mammoth. Huge win for the Mammoth last night, as I already mentioned. We'll get into that with Tom Callahan on the Sean O'Connell Show next. It's Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM. We welcome Tom Callahan from the Locked On Utah Mammoth podcast, Mammoth Insider, to discuss a team that right now on this homestand has become red hot. Tom, welcome back to the show. How are you, sir?
Oh, it's fantastic to be back on, and I'll tell you what, it's a great time to be talking about the Mammoth, isn't it?
It really is. Impressive so far on the homestand, obviously piling up the points. What kind of importance do you put on the win last night? Because obviously it's not just who you did it against, but it's how you did it. It's hanging on at the end there when they pull their goalie and it's 6 versus 5. And that's a team they're the second best team in the NHL right now. How important was that win?
Well, huge. The whole homestand is huge. Let's face it, the Mammoth coming into January were in a bit of a tailspin, and they were playing themselves out of playoff contention. And so if that continued, they were not going to make the playoffs this year. So looking at January, season-long 7-game homestand, and we circled this one from the beginning of the month and said this could make or break their season, and they have to respond. And you know what? Delta Center hasn't always been the best place for them to play, but all of a sudden this year, I think it has really grown into much more of a home ice advantage. Maybe the new seating's got something to do with that, but boy, oh boy, it's massive. And the two biggest games in the biggest homestand of the year were Toronto and Dallas, and they manhandled the Maple Leafs. And you know what caught them coming on a back-to-back after beating Colorado in overtime? Well, that's fine. We didn't write the schedule. So, you have to do what you can to beat them, and they beat them big time. And then Dallas, that's another team that, as you say, second best team in the NHL right now. The Leafs were the hottest, and Dallas is the second best. They finally played some full games of hockey. Really, for 2 games in a row, they were consistent. They played 60 minutes worth of hockey or a very close approximation. They finally showed us what they can do because the talent is there. We've just been waiting for them to put it together for a full game. And Toronto and Dallas, they did it.
Saw some big moments, especially as this game was coming to a close from Veggie and the defense in front of him. We'll start with Veggie. How has Vejmelka played in your mind, not only in this homestand, but leading up to it?
He's another guy that's turned it around in January. Coming into January, he was not having the best run. He was struggling, letting in some soft goals here and there. And I think he'd be the first to tell you that he wanted more. And I think defensively as a team, this whole organization wanted more. His January has been fantastic. His save percentage is through the roof. He's just been outstanding. I would not be surprised if he's goaltender of the month for January. Like, he's been that good, that effective, and they need him to be. And you know what the other thing is, too, we've been talking about is players selected to their respective Olympic teams. You get a natural little boost, right? Your confidence goes up. You feel better about yourself. I think we've seen it with Clayton Keller. He's experienced a little bit of a playoff, an Olympic boost. I think Veg has really ridden his Olympic boost here in January. Being selected to that Czechia squad has been massive for him. I love the way he's playing right now. And this is the guy they signed him to be. So, yeah, he is the guy who has to lead the way for them and give them the big saves when they need it. And right now, in January, he is that guy.
You already alluded to it. Keller is going to be on the U.S. Olympic team, and man, what a roller coaster he's experienced this year. I mean, the tragedy of his father passing and deciding to play through it, and hopefully now being able to put that appropriately in the rear view, if that's even possible, while you're just in the middle of an NHL season. How has his elevated play been a benefit to this team? How significant?
Clayton Keller. First of all, it's hard enough to deal with that at any point in your life, let alone when you're trying to have your best season as an NHL player. And nobody can say what each individual needs to mourn and to heal the passing of a parent. Everybody's different. Some players, in the case of a hockey team or even football team, basketball team, some players find solace in the locker room of being around their team, of being out on the ice or on the court. Some players, get in their own head when they're not around anyone. So, whatever Keller's path has been here, I feel like, yeah, it affected him for a while. And I think we saw that in his play. I think now he's begun to really refocus on hockey and his career. And as far as, how important he is, especially with Logan Cooley out, Keller needs to be the guy. He's not going to get back to 90 points like he did the year before. That 90-point year that he had was something special. And he could have done it again this year, I think, with a full-on normal season and not, dealing with everything he's had to deal with. But I do think they need him to be that leading scorer guy, lead by example, lead in the room, lead on the bench. He wears that C for a reason. And I think they really do need him to be that guy as much as he can for them. So as long as he is able to keep that going, yeah, absolutely. He's the guy who's leading this team to the victories right now, and fortunately kind of dragging everybody else along with him.
Tom Callahan is our guest here, talking a little Utah Mammoth on the Sean O'Connell Show. We haven't had you on since Daniil Boot came up and started to contribute. And look, we saw early in the year, Simashev had a pretty big impact. Then he kind of plateaued and maybe even regressed a little, and they send him back down for some more development. I think he'll be a part of this Mammoth future. But for now, it's a swap out. And Daniil Boot comes up, and he's got the size that they've been looking for and talking about as something they want to establish as part of this Mammoth culture and whatnot. What have you made of his short run so far in the NHL?
You know what? I really like Boot. I think it's not only what he does with the puck, and I think he's starting to get a little more comfortable, and the new line combinations have actually been pretty fantastic. It's been fun to watch. But what I will say about Boot is, number one, you can't teach size. Any sport, you cannot teach size. So he's a big guy. He's got a big reach. He is still growing into his body. That's the other thing you got to remember. He's still pretty young. But, man, I just love his hockey IQ. He sees the game so well. He understands where things are in and around the ice. He sees openings. He thinks the game at an NHL level. And that, more than anything, is what's going to set him apart, especially as his career continues on and he gets used to the pace, used to the grind. This is the best league in the world, right? And not that the KHL is not good, but the first two lines of the KHL are good, and then the bottom two lines are not. Well, in the National Hockey League, all four lines are good. Everybody belongs. Everybody can play. And so that depth taxes you more, and it makes you work harder, and it makes you have to be better. I think Daniil Boot has done a very good job keeping himself now not only in the lineup, but as an effective player, finding some chemistry here, and inserting himself into positions to make an impact, even if it's not necessarily directly leading to a goal, even if he's not directly scoring the goal, he's generating chances, he's helping the team that way, and I think he's done an exceptional job being a rookie. He's actually a lot further along than I thought he might be. I kind of wondered about it, but I really like his game and his development.
Tom, if we zoom out a little bit and we look at the league as a whole, and I guess more importantly the Western Conference, because that's the playoff picture Utah's trying to insert themselves firmly into and stay there. We saw last year toward the end the Blues with their crazy run and resurgence, and they they ended up making the playoffs after being I think it was 2 weeks before the end of the season. They looked like they were firmly out and ended up being in. It would take a massive collapse for somebody like the Colorado Avalanche to be anything but number one, in my opinion. But when we look at where the Mammoth are positioned with their 52 points, sandwiched between Edmonton right now and Seattle, San Jose's tied with Seattle as well. Who are you looking at that's lower in the standings? It's all right, you got to keep pace or stay ahead of their pace. And maybe who's above the Mammoth that you could see them leapfrogging before it's all said and done?
The answer is yes, all of them.
Yeah, sure.
It's crazy, right? Because the Pacific Division this year, to talk about the other guys for a minute, is full of surprises, quite frankly. I did not see the Sharks being where they are, and I don't think a lot of people did. The Flames have absolutely dropped off a cliff. The Canucks have dropped off a cliff. Those are all surprises. The Ducks for a while were up there, but I think they're regressing to where their mean is, and they're not really a playoff team. But the Kings are surprisingly kind of on the outside looking in and kind of hanging out on the border. Like I say, the Sharks are definitely a surprise. We knew Edmonton would be there, but boy, that division is kind of crazy and could yield 5 teams making it in. In the Central, Winnipeg went through an absolutely horrible stretch. They lost 11 in a row. They look terrible, and that's a shock. But now they're starting to put it together again. I think they've won either 3 or 4 in a row, but they have a long climb. But they're not out of it. And St. Louis, inconsistent. 2 months ago looked like sellers, then kind of played their way back into contention. Chicago is starting to fall back a little bit now. My expectation is Winnipeg plays their way back in, Chicago falls out, St. Louis hovers around this playoff cut line along with the Mammoth, who have a chance to separate themselves right now. The only team I see coming back to the pack from the top 3 might be Minnesota, just because they have a little bit more difficult road, and I think that that's a team that is built where they've had some great success so far. I don't know how much of it they can sustain, but Dallas is built for the long haul. Colorado, I agree with you, is not going anywhere but number 1. So that's where the Mammoth have to be. In Nashville. Nashville is finally starting to figure it out in year 2 of this 4-year deal with Steven Stamkos. He's starting to look better. You can't look past Nashville. So tough division, but that's why this homestand was so important, because and the Olympic break coming up in the early part of next month is going to reset everybody for 3 weeks. It's almost like you're going to have to go through camp again. That is going to be a crusher for a lot of teams carrying momentum, and Utah has to set themselves up in a spot in the standings where it does not crush them. And that's going to be an important part of it too. So yeah, this division is difficult. Every 2 points, every single night is going to be massive all the way to April.
In a perfect world, and from a strictly NHL playoff standpoint, do you want your team to have a lot of Olympians, or do you want your guys to have rest during that Olympic break?
Me personally, I mean, I know the grind of an NHL season up close and personal. I think I'd prefer rest. If you have a bunch of Olympians, it means you have a lot of good individually skilled and talented players, and that's awesome. I think the Mammoth have a nice mix. They have guys who could have made it. Like, what would Cooley have done with a full, healthy season? Would he have made it? Would he have been a fringe guy? I think he might have been a fringe guy. Don't know if he'd have made it because of his youth, but could have. If Vitek Vanacek had better numbers this year, because I think he's played well, but had better numbers, he could have also been on an Olympic roster as a goaltender as well. I think he could have been on the Czech team. But Dan Vladar in Philly kind of put that to bed. He's really played his way into that. That said, the rest is super important. The recuperation is super important for a lot of these guys who are nursing these bumps, these bruises. Does that get Kerfoot back in the lineup? Does that get Cooley back in the lineup? I think for the Mammoth, for the gauntlet they have, March and April, I would much rather have them rested and healed.
We have not had you on since the big announcement, Gary Bettman in town a couple weeks ago. I lose my track of time, to let us all know that 2027 Winter Classic, outside of the Olympics, outside of the Stanley Cup Finals themselves, this is the showcase opportunity for the NHL, and it's coming to Rice-Eccles Stadium. How excited are you for this? How big of a deal should we all view this as?
Oh, my goodness. This is awesome. I'm very excited for it, and everybody should be. This is, I mean, even if you haven't been to a hockey game and you're like, maybe I'll check it out, this is the one you're going to want to go to. This is going to be massive. It's something you will likely not see again for many years. And even if you do, the Mammoth might be the road team that's involved. But to have it in your own backyard, such a beautiful, setting. And I mean, just things are happening right now for the city, for the state, for this hockey team. And it is a marquee event. It really is. And it's going to bring a carnival with it to town when it comes. I've been around these before. I mean, it is a week long. It is not just we show up and play the game. There's going to be so much for the community to do. They're going to, try to, I guarantee you things will happen. Like they'll try to get a college game out there or two. They may do some public skates out there. They may try to, they're going to try to really get everybody involved. And it's just going to be so much fun. And This is going to be huge. It's huge for the organization, but it's even bigger for the community. And I could not be more thrilled to see that it's coming next year.
Can we get somebody besides the Avalanche? I mean, I guess maybe they'll have a bad year next year. I shouldn't assume that they're going to be great again, but I want it to be a Mammoth win, and that's a tough out against the Avalanche.
It is, but you know what's great, OC, is they have played the tough teams tough, and they've beaten them. And for whatever reason, Utah elevates its play against Colorado, against Dallas, against Toronto, against the difficult teams they played this year, the teams leading their divisions, they show up, and they play well. So I would go so far as to suggest I think Utah will beat the Avalanche next year because they play them so hard, and they will have another year of these players who are growing into their roles. Man, and that's what, right? This is the stubborn part of sports that gives us hope. When you see your team play well against the other best teams in the league, and sometimes you beat them, you're like, well, we could be that good. We are that good. Look, we just did it. And that's how I feel about this Mammoth team. And that's, quite frankly, I think why we all get so frustrated when they don't play well, because we know they're capable. We know they have the talent, and you just want to see them succeed. So I wouldn't worry too much about the Avs. It's going to be a good game.
That's what I needed to hear, Tom. I love that. Winter Classic.
I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it.
No, it's great. Hey, before then, we'll have plenty of hockey to watch, including this weekend. And, of course, Tom Callahan and the Locked On Utah Mammoth podcast will be giving you all the perspective you need. Tom, appreciate your time today. Let's talk again soon.
Sounds good. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Tom Callahan, Mammoth Insider. That's the rah-rah I needed, okay?
Yeah, take that, Denver.
Because here's what I don't want, all right? And this is the miserly, cheap person in me. I'm taking – I think my nephews are going to come out, all right? I'm taking people, family, to the Winter Classic, okay? I'm doing it. That's an expensive ticket, James. I don't want to pay $400 a seat to watch the Utah Mammoth get smashed by Cole McCarr. Okay?
See, here's what you need to do. You need to get the credential for yourself. Then you don't need a ticket, and then only pay for the rest of the crew, and then go hang out with them, by where they're sitting. There might not be an empty seat for you to actually sit in, but you can
just like loiter, just stand in the stairs.
You can just be like, hey, how you guys doing? Back and forth from the press box.
Just make the poor ushers' jobs just miserable. Sir, please stop standing. Sir, you're obstructing the view.
You're like everybody's standing. It's the Winter Classic. There's not a full seat in the house here. Come on now.
Can I awkwardly squat here on the stairs? No, sir. Fire code. You can't be on the stairs. Can't be sitting there.
Just give them the "Do you know who I am?" and show them the credential.
They're like that. Sir, that doesn't even look like you. That picture is from 12 years ago.
You're like, okay, well, what if I told you I won an MMA belt?
I did look that way at one point. Please, sir, just go where you're supposed to be. That's a good plan, James. I'm going to do it that way. All right, got to take a quick one here. The Daily Dump. Look, it's January. You don't think that baseball is going to dominate the headlines, but some big-time contracts being handed out, agreed to, some movement in the major leagues. We'll get to that and more. Brought to you by Valley Plumbing. Daily Dump is next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. If you have a plumbing need, a drain cleaning need, or an HVAC need, Valley Plumbing can now help you out. The truck with the duck handling your vents, your furnaces, your air conditioners, in addition to your plumbing and your drain cleaning. Look for the truck with the duck. Tell them OC sent you when you make your appointments. All right, the Daily Dump. We'll go through a potpourri of stories here. This one big, local interest, all right? Samson Nakua, the former Ute and Coug, will not be charged over the alleged car theft where he ended up stealing a Lakers car because apparently when investigators were following up, he thought it was Puka's car. Puka, his brother, has a similar car, which makes sense, right? What pro athlete is truly driving a unique car these days? Unless you're talking about Joe Burrow with the Dark Knight Batmobile. They're all driving the same thing.
That's not very unique.
They're all driving Teslas and G-Wagons, and if you're really rich, you got a Bugatti or whatever.
Rolls Royce, I don't know.
He thought it was Puka's car, so he took it. All right.
His attorneys, of course, said sheriff's department, they told that they and Sampson told the LA Sheriff's Department there's a misunderstanding, and the Sheriff's Department promptly dismissed the case after review, and they say, quote, the case is now closed. So good news for Sampson, good news for the Nakua family, that they can put behind them. What a ridiculous thing to get arrested for if that ended up going the other way. So good for them that it's dismissed.
Otto Tiero is the LA Lakers rookie who's the owner of the vehicle that Sampson ended up taking. Can I ask the obvious question here? How do you take a car if it's not the only way this happens, right, is if, and this is the only way I find it believable.
Yeah.
If you're at a hotel or you're at a fancy restaurant and you valet park the car, right? And let's say the valet brings up the black Suburban or the black Escalade or the white G-Wagon or whatever, and the valet is just like, yeah, here's your car. And you see it there, and they leave the keys in, and it's idling or whatever. You're just like, oh, there it is. They brought it up. Let's go get in the car and drive it away. That's the only way this is possible. How else do you have the keys?
Right.
You can't just go sit in somebody's car and drive it away. You have to have keys. I guess, if you like the really fancy cars now, you have like the app you can use on the phone. So unless you stole something from someone, you can't drive their car. This is the only way it happened. So
you do the old Mercedes on voice activated thing, maybe.
This is the valet. The valet is the only way that this works.
So is the valet getting in trouble here? Does the valet still have their job after this?
That valet's fired.
There's no way, right?
If you made a mistake that generated national headlines,
there's no way he still has.
And humiliated one of LA's biggest sports stars right now, you don't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
So that sucks for that valet.
Yeah, hopefully that valet is having luck finding other employment.
Have you ever gotten in somebody else's car thinking it was your car?
I haven't gotten into the car. I have gotten up to the car and touched the handle, and then. But the other thing about that is, and maybe, is it Tiero, the Lakers?
Yeah.
Okay, Tiero, he's a rookie. Maybe he doesn't have many things that interior accessories or anything that makes the car look very unique, right?
When you get in somebody else's car and they have but that's not my air freshener.
Right. You get in, and even if you don't have many accessories, you can see oh, that's not where I keep that. This looks different. It's the same car, same make and model, but there's things that look different. Maybe it looks cleaner or dirtier than how you keep yours. Right away that it's not your car. Right?
Although, again,
typically,
if this is a valet parking situation, your first thought would be oh, those idiots made a mess in my car if it's dirtier.
That's a good point.
Or you're like, oh, wow, they cleaned the car.
That's a good point. Also, it's not Sampson's car. So maybe he hasn't driven it very much before, so he's just that's the make and model. Though, yeah, that's Puka's car. So, but I just say, in those times when I've confused someone else's car for mine, I've never actually been able to get in, but I have gotten close enough where I'm like embarrassingly close, and anyone watching me and like, oh shoot, I just approached the wrong car.
Never mind, not trying to steal your car.
You just have the same one as me. My bad.
I have a very distinct memory of this. When I was probably in like 3rd or 4th grade, my mother and I went to the Smiths on 1300 East in Sandy. All right, shout out to God's Country. You guys know the one. It's right next to the gully, right next to Dimpledale Canyon. That's Smith's on 13th East, all right? That was like, I lived 2 blocks behind that Smith's, right? We just popped down, run a little errand. Now, at the time, the family car was a 1988 Chevy Celebrity station wagon, maroon. Back seat facing backwards, okay? Love that car. Amazing.
Talking the way back.
That was the way back seat that flipped around, face backwards out the back window. That was my first car that I drove as a sophomore in high school. All right, it's a big car with a 4-cylinder engine, topped out at about 57 miles an hour. This thing sucked, but I loved it. Right, but this is before it had been downgraded and wasn't quite that old yet. We go into Smith's. We come back out, and there is another maroon station wagon parked in the same row, like 2 spots closer, but with a big van or a big truck in between. So we don't see our car. We see the first maroon station wagon, and we get in that car. My mom goes around, and she puts the key in the door. And I don't know if the key was not, like, if the door was not actually locked, or if somehow, remember back in those days, you had keys for the door and keys for the ignition. There were 2 keys for the car.
Right, and sometimes another key for the trunk. Yeah.
So in this case, either the keys for the door were like the same because they were pretty much the same car, so she was able to unlock, or it wasn't locked in the first place. But we got in somebody else's car. We both sat in the car, and my mom put the start the car key in the ignition, and it didn't work. And she's like, "What the heck?" And then we kind of looked and we're like, "Oh, whoa, this isn't our car." And it was because of an air freshener hanging. We were not a fancy family that had a hanging air freshener.
So when you made that joke, you were actually referring to
Yes.
a real thing.
I still remember that. So Samson, all right, it happened to me in 4th grade. It happened to you when you were 27 years old. Okay, we can accept your explanation.
Yeah, and again, glad it's turning out okay for he and the Nakua family.
Look, I am pumped. Another Daily Dumb Story. I'm very, very excited for the eventuality of Salt Lake City, of Utah getting a Major League Baseball team. I am going to be, spoiler alert, I'm going to be completely insufferable trying to figure out colorways, trying to figure out team names. I'm going to be trying to be the play-by-play guy. I'm going to be awful when we're getting a baseball team, all right? You guys are going to get so sick of me hearing about these things.
Since you're gonna audition for the play-by-play role, you're gonna be on air. You're gonna be just saying number combinations just to get ready to say, "Hey, that was a 4-3 putout right there."
I'm just gonna. It's
an
gonna
11-5.
Strike that opinion from the record. Strike it. You know, I'm gonna be practicing.
I love that.
On my way to it, but then I'm gonna come back down to earth and realize, even if we get an MLB franchise in Salt Lake City, we are not getting a World Series probably ever, because the Dodgers are still going to exist. Right now, James, the Dodgers have $2.1 billion worth of guaranteed money, either active or deferred salaries, that they owe to megastars on their team. They aren't, I mean, the franchise itself is probably worth 14, 15 billion right now, but they're on their balance sheet. They've got liabilities for like 7 players totaling $2.1 billion and going all the way until like 2099. This is unbelievable. Kyle Tucker signed with the Dodgers yesterday.
Hate it. The
Blue Jays got Bo Bichette for, 3 years, $140 $40 million or something crazy.
No, former Blue Jay Bo Bichette going to the Mets for that.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays Bo Bichette is going to the Mets for big-time money. Now, the Dodgers, they have been successful in translating that kind of pay to championship-level success. The Mets are on the opposite end of that spectrum. They pay a lot of money, and
yeah. I mean, they did lose the Dodgers in the NLCS 2 years ago. You can't. That's nothing to sneeze at. But yeah, they're not. Given their payroll, they're underachieving. Absolutely.
So as we very often get bogged down in the football and basketball worlds, especially this time of year, Major League Baseball, that for all of the conversation about viewership declining and about attendance being a concern and how do you capture the young fan, the financials in Major League Baseball are still some of the most shocking. And I guess it's a volume proposition when you have 162 regular season games. But, man, these owners are just splashing cash on big-time players.
Well, I don't understand why a salary cap is not something that can be instituted. I mean, and I say I don't understand. I do understand. It's the power of the MLB Players Association, which is probably the most powerful players association in sports and probably will always be the case. Guys will play when they're suspended because of the Players Association's power, OC. But well, it's a pending suspension. It's being appealed, so they are allowed to play. No, like, they're suspended and yet they're allowed to play. Like, that tells you just how powerful the Players Association is in Major League Baseball. So I know that's why, but like if there's a league that's been in need of a salary cap, and it's been for a long time, it's been baseball. How long? I mean, the Dodgers are now they're the current evil empire, if you will. The Yankees, of course, were that traditionally, where it's just like they have the most money and there's no salary cap, so we're just spending it. Like, there needs to be, and my Red Sox have been in that position too, not quite to the level of the Yankees and Dodgers, but they're not a poor franchise, right? They're acting like it right now. But there needs to be a salary cap, and because it's just ridiculous that the Dodgers are allowed to just keep. Oh, hey, we've won 2 straight World Series. Why don't we just add Kyle Tucker too? It's crazy.
It's really wild, and again, it's not going to help you gain more fans. Now, it might help the Dodgers gain more fans, but
their nationwide brand's just going to continue to grow. Absolutely,
but it's not going to help like Royals fans to be more engaged. It's not going to. I'm a Minnesota Twins guy, and my interest in Major League Baseball has eroded very, very drastically over my years because we don't have a team, obviously, and because the Twins are not even bothering in a lot of cases. They have become a slightly better version of like the Oakland A's, where your best players develop there and then you ship them off to the Yankees, or you ship them off to the Giants, or you ship them off to whatever. And that sucks, right? So Major League Baseball, it's really interesting because they're very transparent about acknowledging their problems. Like, hey, yeah, we got to capture young fans. We got to get them into the game. We got to make our all-star format more appealing. We got to emphasize this home run derby. You got to get more English-speaking stars, all these things. And then they're like, we absolutely cannot do the thing that everyone wants us to do and institute any kind of guardrail or salary cap to stop the Dodgers from buying championships continuously. And by the way, the players don't want them to for obvious reasons. Bryce Harper, it was during this last season, he went bananas on, wasn't it the commissioner?
Yeah, the commissioner visited the Phillies and he said F you basically to commissioner when he even just mentioned the idea of a salary cap.
Yeah, he was just like, a salary cap might help competitiveness.
F you, commish!
And Bryce Harper went insane. And like, okay, Bryce, relax, man. First of all, you're fine either way. Okay? You've already made, if you're like a rookie, you're like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. I don't want a salary cap.
He's standing up for the rookies, OC. Come on now.
Limitations. He's just like, I mean, Bryce, you're a darn near baseball billionaire. You're going to be okay.
And I refuse to believe that Manfred was brazenly being like, yeah, we're gonna do a sour cap no matter what you think, to warrant that kind of reaction too. He just because, as I said, this is not a new thing for the Players Association to be this intimidating thing, to be this powerful, right? So the commissioner who represents the owners who are at odds with the Players Association, they sit across the table in labor negotiations. He knows well enough to not just brashly be like, yeah, we're going to institute a salary cap. He's probably very carefully brought it up, and to warrant that kind of reaction is crazy.
It's just that's the way it is right now in Major League Baseball. As long as we're talking about baseball, Clayton Kershaw has retired, but he is going to pitch in the World Baseball Classic. What do you think of this?
Yeah. I mean, he can still pitch. He's not near the guy he was. I would guess he's probably not going to start many games in the World Baseball Classic. He's probably going to have the role he had in the playoffs with the Dodgers, where when they need an arm in the bullpen, and they've used all their other good arms, they're going to look to Clayton and be like, give us an inning, and it probably have that kind of role, and he can be effective that way. I think it's cool that he wants to continue to pitch in this kind of thing. It kind of reminds you of Magic Johnson in the NBA being invited to playing in the Olympics, of course, on the Dream Team after he had retired because it was being HIV positive, and then being invited to play in the All-Star game in the NBA after he had retired. So I think that's kind of cool. Let's do that in baseball too with the legend from LA, coincidentally.
Fascinating times in Major League Baseball. We're still a couple months away from spring training and any kind of resurgence of the game itself, but this is one of the things that is so interesting now in the world of sports and has obviously permeated college sports, because the storylines about the game itself can only sustain during the calendar. And then they had the trade deadlines and free agency and things like that. And now really what some of the biggest headline drivers in all sports are contract deals, contract numbers. When you see Bo Bichette with a 3-year, I over-exaggerated, with a $126 million deal, I'm not a math whiz, but that's that's $42 million a year. That's top quarterback money. And there's like 25 guys in the Major League Baseball world that are making more than that.
Do you remember when and this is exceeding that money, but do you remember A-Rod just every time he had a new deal, it was over 200, he would sign for over 200 million total. It's just like, and for like 10 years each time. Just baseball contracts are insane.
Yeah, when so and so signed a 16-year deal versus worth $425 million, you're like, wait, what?
Was that Soto?
What?
Was that listener of the show, Juan Soto? I think it might have been.
He texted in to the show today, Juan Soto. Yeah.
Speaking of Bo Bichette, did you see Taylor from Warham's text about, he said, because our listener Juan Soto said that we're going to enter the dark ages of Utah football, and Taylor from Warham said he's mad that he's got to share the spotlight with Bo Bichette now in New York.
That might be the thing.
That might be why he's so negative. We love you, Juan. We're just having some fun there.
So, I love a good conspiracy theory. I love a good conspiracy theory that surrounds sports, and I love one even more if Jalen Rose is involved.
Absolutely.
I just learned about this, okay? Apparently, Jalen Rose's daughter is trying to convince everyone of a conspiracy theory that Aaron Rodgers' secret wife is actually an AI chatbot.
Oh, catfish by AI.
I would love so much if the Manti Te'o story got a modern twist where it was AI, and that Aaron Rodgers, of all people, who kind of his whole stance these last several years has been like, I'm smarter than everyone. If he's the one who got duped into, quote unquote, marrying a fake person, I would love that so much.
See, Manti Te'o got mercilessly made fun of by a lot of people, but I feel like there's much more sympathy in his situation than there would be with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, also, we did not know the term catfish when this happened to Manti Te'o.
Yeah.
It's easy to look back and be like, oh, man, how could that have happened? It's because it was the first time it had happened in a profile setting. Nobody knew about this. And that was one of the reasons, shout out to the local filmmakers who put the Manti Te'o documentary together, the Untold,
right?
So good. So good. Well done, Tony. It was absolutely incredible when they actually gave you the audio of the voice messages he was talking about. It's like, yep, that's a woman talking to me. Now, the long distance relationship, I don't actually get to see this person. I'm supposed to meet with them and I don't actually meet them thing. That's tough, right? But we didn't know that people did that stuff when it happened to Manti. I hope that Aaron Rodgers is actually married to a chatbot. That would be really cool. Because then we'd have that to hold over him and make fun of him for years.
Can you imagine the kind of spin he would do on Pat McAfee on his Tuesday hit? Yeah, with the way the league is covered today. And Aaron, we're talking about your fake relationship. We're not talking about how people cover the league. That's weird.
I also want to know why Jalen Rose's daughter is the one who's trying to convince everyone of this. What
is she some kind of big time influencer now?
I think she's
maybe
trying to be an influencer. Why is she? Why did she pick Mariah Rose? Why did she pick this fight to be her thing?
She's gotten in somehow. She knows someone close to Aaron Rodgers, I guess. I don't know.
Her Twitter profile. It's explaining sports for hotties. She's got 21,000 followers.
Okay. That's incredible. Explaining sports for hotties.
Yeah, she's got 4 videos out that are just all talking about Aaron Rodgers and how Aaron Rodgers, there's no way, after years and years of him being in high-profile public celebrity relationships, there's just no way that he could have gotten married to a secret woman that no one's ever seen.
Well, hotties need her to explain that. That's what's going on. The hotties that are knocking down her door.
Then count me a hottie, okay? Because I need her to explain it to me too.
Explaining sports for hotties.
You can fill any niche you want on the internet these days, James. And Mariah Rose, the daughter of Jalen Rose, the niche she wants to fill is explaining sports figure marriage conspiracy theories, but apparently only to people who are also attractive. So if you're homely or even average, you can't follow her.
She's actually created an AI that blocks you immediately after you hit the follow button.
It's probably why she only has 21 followers. There's just not enough hot people.
There's not enough hotties.
It's like, nope, you're not cute. Sorry.
You don't need this explanation. This is for the hotties.
This one's actually kind of a bummer. I know that a lot of people like to make fun of Tom Brady, and the Tom Brady roast was hilarious, but everyone was going after him because of the divorce stuff. Him and Gisele Bündchen went through a pretty high-profile separation and divorce. There was a lot of, a lot of fallout from that for Brady's kids. Gisele ended up with her jiu-jitsu instructor, which, if you're in the combat sports world, is not that funny of a joke because everyone is just like, oh, that happens way too often.
And probably Brazilian jiu-jitsu too, knowing she's from Brazil.
Correct. But Tom Brady, he admitted finally publicly that his last season in the NFL was bad because of the divorce. I mean, I think people inferred this, but he's been really, really guarded in talking about those kind of things. A lot of personal family issues. It was a challenge. Took a lot out of me in terms of my ability to continue to play.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
Tom Brady being a little bit human is actually kind of rare.
Yeah.
And him admitting that, I think, goes a long way to making people to bridging the. He is very robotic in a lot of situations. He's aging backwards. He's got Benjamin Button going on. But him admitting this, I think, especially for Tampa fans and for Pats fans who have like this deep affection for Tom Brady, it's like a catharsis to see their guy and hear their guy be normal for a second.
What do you think he who shall not be named thinks of this now that he's the head football coach of Brady's alma mater? Do you think this helps? This is something that touches him now?
Probably
in some
not.
Way? Probably not.
Although he did say he who shall not be named did like basically solicit, I'd like to hear from Tom Brady at some point.
Sure, why not?
A lot of former Wolverines had already contacted him. He's like, it hasn't been Tom Brady yet. I would pay money. This is part of the access thing. You want to start generating revenue? I would pay money to like be a fly on the wall for that conversation. Because neither guy seems to be like overly loquacious, right? Both seem like they can talk to anyone, but
as long as they're talking football, they go on for days.
If you put those two guys who are like super alphas together in a conversation, they can only talk about football because they don't relate on anything else.
Or
Kyle Whittingham, Tom Brady eats like only avocado smoothies. Kyle Whittingham, part of the reason he works out so much, the man can wolf down food like a teenage boy. It's insane.
You don't think you just said his name, by the way. Jeez, flag on you.
Dang.
But
throw the flag.
You don't think the former coach of the program, I like that moniker too, the former Utah football coach.
Former coach.
You don't think he's not going to bring up, hey, what's your high on Peloton? Knowing the story that Joel Klatt has.
Guaranteed. You want to do a Peloton thing? Want to get after it?
And Tom smiles like, oh, cool, yeah, a little fun competitive situation, and the former coach is, he realizes real quick, no, it's not fun competitive with me. Like we're playing for keeps, all right.
You know what I would also love to see? Tom Brady talking to Kyle Whittingham about marriage.
You just did it again.
I did it again.
You did it on purpose that time?
I'd love to see those two talking about this specifically. Because Kyle, it's like high school sweetheart, I guess maybe college sweetheart. Every available moment spent with that person, every available moment gives that person credit, right? Jamie, like he was always mentioning, right? You like every time you saw him off of a football field, you would see them together. If you went up to the facility, she was there all the time. She would come to practices, things like that. Tom Brady was married to a literal supermodel. And like you only saw them in the same setting when the paparazzi caught something.
Absolutely. And on top of that, he left his pregnant girlfriend to then marry and start a relationship and then marry said literal supermodel. So that's the other thing that would be funny. Another reason why it'd be funny to hear that conversation. Yeah.
His kid is like a baseball player now, I think.
Is he really? The one with his ex-girlfriend?
Moynihan. Jack Moynihan is his name. John Jack Moynihan. That was the one he left in utero, which is just absolutely insane. I think he's like a scholarship baseball player now or something.
All right.
I'll have to look that up.
Shout out. And hopefully they have some kind of relationship. I would hope so, even though the way he left his mom is terrible. Hopefully he is a good dad to the boy.
I'm gonna look up and see if he has any recruiting profiles. The NFL playoffs are this weekend. You can hear them right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. You've got the College Football National Championship on Monday. I want to talk about these NFL playoff games coming up. I'm going to put the poll questions out. You're just picking the winner. Let's see what the audience thinks about who advances to the AFC and NFC championship games. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. NFL playoff games. Divisional round. Winners advance to the conference championship weekend. You can listen to those games right here on ESPN 700 92.1 FM. Which one of those is going to be? The 4:30, the Bears-Rams, the home broadcast will be on ESPN The Fan.
That's right. And we won't have one of the broadcasts because we've got Utah men's and women's basketball going on the same time during that game. That's the Bills versus the Broncos, not Bill Riley's Broncos.
Most importantly, Saturday, 6 p.m., Seahawks-Niners. You can hear that right here on your home of the Utes. And interestingly enough, Sam Darnold has been downgraded to questionable. Now, look, he's going to play. But a new oblique injury the week of a very important game. He said he felt a little something while he was throwing routes on air. Nobody touched him. All right? Just 7-on-7. Actually, routes on air, it's not even 7-on-7. He's just throwing the ball, and he tweaked his oblique. The thing about these core muscles, right? You hear people with the hernia situations. You hear the core muscles. You hear obliques. I'm sure they'll shoot him up with whatever he needs to be shut up with, but there's nothing you can do on a football field. There's no movement that doesn't feel that. I'm sure he'll be fine. I promise I'm not crossing my fingers that he's less than 100% just so my Niners have a better shot of winning. But is what it is.
It's gotta make you feel a little bit better, the idea that someone on the Seahawks is going to be less than 100%. Well, you've got so many guys missing on the Niners this year, though. But, yeah, of course you're not rooting for it.
Darnold was asked, what's the percentage of you thinking you won't play? He said probably closer to 0. So he's going to play. The backups are Drew Lock and then Jalen Milroe.
Oh, Jalen Milroe.
Former Bama quarterback.
Yeah. He and Kalen DeBoer switched places. That's interesting.
Despite my biggest hopes, Fred Warner is out versus the Seahawks. He has not checked all the necessary boxes. They're not going to be able to get him back. Great. He's out there practicing.
Yeah.
The captain energy, that kind of thing. That's important. It doesn't have a concrete effect on the game itself, obviously. But if you can get to next week, then there's a much more realistic possibility that he could be out there playing. That's going to be it's going to be a tough game for the San Francisco 49ers.
The most interesting thing about him out there practicing, he's practicing in a lead bowl to protect himself from the power station.
He should be. Like, Fred is not able to move. The mobility is pretty heavily affected right now because you'll notice he's wearing an entire lead suit.
It's going to make him faster for game time, though.
You know that apron they put on you when they're like at the dentist when they're going to do the x-rays on your teeth? It's just that, but pants, shirt, one of those helmet covers.
It's not the capri shorts NFL pants thing. It's actually all the way down to the ankles.
Yeah, got to go. Well, especially when you're talking about ankle injuries.
Yeah, it's that of course is not true. If for anyone who believed that.
No, it is.
Okay.
I want to. If you're silly enough to think.
So you're picking your Niners, of course.
Look, I can't for the Niners. That's my team in all sports. That's the team I have shown the most and consistent interest with from my childhood. So I can't pick with my head when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers.
If they're in it, you pick your team, even if all signs might point to them being the inferior team for whatever reason. You pick your team if they're in it.
They're the biggest underdogs of the weekend, 7-point dogs to Seattle, in Seattle. So, yeah, does it suck? Maybe. Or maybe it's a great upset story because somehow they've gotten to this point, and they've been without Fred Warner. They've been without Nick Bosa. They've been without Trent Williams for a couple of weeks. They were without Brock Purdy for half the dang season. And they've been without Ayuk the whole year for pretty much. It's kind of like what we're talking about with
Kittle's
Utah
out,
football. Kittle's out
now,
and some of next season. It's kind of like what we're talking about with the Utah football equation, where the names you know are going to be good have moved on in the transfer portal, some of them, right? And what comes back is a little bit less certain. With the San Francisco 49ers, they've been relying on guys that you didn't think you would have to rely on. And yet here they are. Now, they had the trump card of Christian McCaffrey being one of the best overall football players in the NFL, and he's gotten them scratching and clawing and doing whatever's necessary to this point, somewhat on his own in certain games. But a 12-5 San Francisco 49ers team upset the Eagles last week, and now they've got the Seahawks. That is your late game on Saturday.
Just to give my pick out here, I'm believing in the Niners' magic, even though I'm with you, not because they're my favorite team like in your case, but I'm going to pick them until they lose. And maybe I won't pick them in the Super Bowl if they somehow get that far. But in the NFC, I'm going to pick them until they lose because they just keep defying the odds. Kyle Shanahan has proven to be that good of a coach as well. Do you realize he's not just – I didn't realize this part. He's 7-0 in his 49ers head coaching career in the wild card round. He's also 7-0 in the divisional round. When the Niners have been in the playoffs, they've made the NFC Championship game. And with how they've defied the odds so far, I'm going to stick with them until they lose in the NFC.
I like that. Until there's a reason not to believe, we're going to believe. San Francisco 49ers upset and advance. And that means our guy, Chad, sales guy Chad, has to put Go Niners in his email signature. And he's going to I'm going to make him send every one of our listeners an email.
So text us your email so we can do that.
Actually, I don't want our text line to be flooded with
maybe not.
By the way, we've got 15 minutes until we air our grievances here on the Sean O'Connell Show as we continue to go through a huge weekend in NFL football, divisional playoff round. The game that we're not able to give you because we're the home of the Utes and we've got men's and women's basketball broadcasts on, but obviously we're going to be watching these games. We're going to be talking about these games on Monday. And this is, I think, the one with the most local interest because the Broncos are kind of the long-standing de facto home-ish team for Salt Lake City. And then the Bills have the Ute interest on there.
Broncos have a ton of that, too.
Little Weber State interest as well. So even though there's probably not a ton of Bills fans for the sake of being Bills fans and very few Buffalo, New York connections, because the Buffalo Bills have right now and have had recently a lot of Utes, I think that probably helps the Bills when it comes to the interest. Denver is a 1.5-point favorite coming off the bye. And, of course, the Bills narrowly escaped against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This one is on CBS and Paramount Plus. It's a 2:30 Mountain Time kick. And I think, you know what? Again, pick with your heart, not your head. I think that the Broncos, even though there's a bunch of dudes that have not done it before on that team, and even though there's a lot of people who are like, well, if not now, when for the Bills? I think never is the answer to that question.
You're just a hater.
I'm not a hater. I'm not a liker either.
Yeah,
I do want to see Cole Bishop have success. Dalton Kincaid is one of my favorite guys that has come through the Utah program recently. But, man, this Broncos team's got a bunch more Utes even than the Bills do. And weirdly enough, I guess this is the rub-off that happens when you're you do radio with an Oregon Duck. The Bo Nix thing, following Bo Nix's career so closely and seeing how many people doubted that Bo Nix was going to be any good at Oregon after what happened at Auburn, and then seeing people doubt what Bo Nix was going to be able to do as an NFL quarterback, and seeing our guy Garrett Bowles stick through like some really, really, really lean years with the Broncos to now be one of the highest paid, most respected offensive linemen in the NFL, and to have this opportunity, weirdly enough, I'm kind of sentimental and hoping that the Broncos can do this.
Yeah, see, I am sentimental and hoping for the opposite team. I really like Josh Allen. And he's one of those that's like, for me, he's too good to go throughout his career and not win something, not even at least get to the Super Bowl, if not win a championship. So I pull really hard for Josh Allen and these Bills, and I really like Dalton Kincaid and Cole Bishop, of course. And of course my wife has adopted the Bills. She loves Joshy as well, as she calls him. So I pull for the Bills hard for the reasons you're saying you're pulling for the Broncos hard here. And I heard this on Rich Eisen. He started the Rich Eisen show 10 to 11 now here on ESPN 792.1 FM right before this show. He started out with just giving a laundry list of great stats and facts about each of these teams, each of the teams that are remaining. And one of the things that he brought up about the Broncos and what the Bills are facing, so this is back-to-back weeks, they're facing a top 2 pass rush in the NFL. So the Jags, apparently, according to Rich Eisen and whatever statistical service he was using, the Jags had the number 1 pass rush in the NFL. Broncos have the number 2 pass rush in the NFL. It's been since 1974 that a road team has won in the playoffs, back to back, facing number 1 and then number 2 pass rush in the league. So that's the kind of odds that the Bills are going up against. The history of the Bills are going up against in this. And if I'm the Bills and I'm Sean McDermott and I'm Josh Allen in particular, I'm going, it doesn't matter that we're on the road. Do you know there's no one in the playoffs that has the experience that we have in the AFC side of things? And there's no one as talented as they should believe that they're more talented than everybody else as well. So if the Bills lose, no disrespect to the Broncos, this would feel like a massive failure for them.
And I mean, Weddle joined us yesterday, and he said they have to get it done at some point. But that is the curse of the Buffalo Bills, right? You get to them and you don't win them. You get to compete for, but you don't win. And that we all know what that's like here in Salt Lake City, to be that fan base that is respectable and good. You would trade it all for one championship year. I know Bill Riley, when he joined us today, he was mostly being facetious, but he's like, if you win multiple Super Bowls, you don't get to complain for the rest of your life. But it's kind of true, right? If you get to have like a dynastic type run, if you get to win even one championship, but certainly if you win multiple, I'm looking at Warriors highlights here on the screen in front of me. Nobody in the Bay Area gets to complain about basketball ever again. Like, not my generation, not the younger generation, not the older generation that followed the We Believe Warriors and gave them great support before what Steve Kerr and Steph and Draymond and Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant temporarily did. Like, you have to just be like, wow, what a wonderful thing for me to experience in my life. For the Bills fan, for the Jazz fan, for the fan that is just like, man, we're almost there all the time. It is excruciating. And I imagine winters in Buffalo are excruciating enough, but they're going to have another one because the Broncos are going to advance.
All right. I got the other side of things. I got the Bills winning again, even though I would not be surprised if they fall again, because we've just seen that happen over and over again as you outlined.
All right. Pats, Texans. New England is a 3-point favorite here. This one's going to be bitterly cold, if I'm not mistaken. The Texans they're a really interesting takeaway team. Can they rattle Drake May and end up making really, I think, the defensive plays necessary? Because offensively, and you heard Weddle talk about this also, Stroud is not going the right direction right now. The offense is not going the right direction right now. Houston is incredibly reliant on the defense to make the plays necessary to keep them in games and even to score points for them. In a nasty cold weather game, I'd probably want to lean on my defense anyway, but geez, I just have a hard time buying into what the Texans are producing at this moment.
Yeah, so this is the game it was the Texans game against the Steelers too. Back-to-back weeks, I find myself really wanting the Texans to win because I'm a Buckeyes fan. C.J. Stroud's the quarterback. Kate Stover is also a Buckeye. a nice connection for him at tight end. You got those connections for me. I want to root for the Texans, despite being a Colts fan. They're in their division rival too. I want to root for them, and I will in this case. I found myself not rooting for them against the Steelers because I wanted the Bills to get through the AFC more, and the Steelers are obviously a vastly inferior opponent to the Texans. I'm gonna root for the Texans this week, but for back-to-back weeks, I'm not sure I believe enough in them to get this done. Stroud does not look like himself. Does not look like he really hasn't looked the same since his incredible rookie year. Right? It's worse this year than last year, even. So as good as that defense is, this is on the road. They play in Houston inside, and I'm not sure I believe even that great of a defense can go into cold weather like they're going to face in New England. And I'm a Patriots hater, like a lot of people. That's another reason why I'm pulling for the Texans this week. But I hate to say it, I think the Patriots are going to pull this one out.
Rams, Bears, a lot of the year, most of the year, I would say, people looked at the L.A. Rams and said, no one's going to beat them. That's a Super Bowl team again. Sean McVay's an incredible coach and play caller. Matt Stafford is such an experienced guy. He's seasoned, and he's got the support around him. He's got the talent. He's got, a lot of people think, the best young wide receiver in the league, maybe the best overall wide receiver in the league, a guy with obvious local connections here in Puka Nacua. And the Rams sort of, I won't say backed their way in, but they didn't necessarily end up as dominant as midseason form would have suggested. It took them a couple of weeks, or it took them a little while, like into week 5, before they started to really look like the team that they ended up becoming. Midseason, it was like, oh my gosh, what are you going to do against this squad? Then the Niners beat them. And then they've won their last 2 games, and they won their last regular season game against the Texans, which now we know is a more impressive win than maybe I was giving it credit for at the time. But this Rams team, I don't know how we've seen the best version of them yet. I don't know that this particular iteration of the Rams, now that we're in the playoffs and now that it's like a half veteran squad, half young squad, that the veteran side doesn't come out and say, all right, this is how you have to prepare. This is what you have to do. This is where the playoff wins are different than the regular season wins. This is what we've been waiting for all season long. We had a great season, but now it's time for us to show that we are the most dominant team in the NFL. We have the potential, especially in our passing game, to be, even better than we've been. And that's where the Rams scare me. The Bears do not. I am not threatened by the Bears. I know they feel a little bit ahead of schedule. I know people love the marriage between this coaching staff and Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams is enough of a problem from an off-script performance standpoint that he's probably going to make a couple of plays in this game that keep the Bears closer than they belong. But to me, this just feels like the easiest pick of the weekend, that it's going to be a Rams victory, which is probably why I'll be wrong.
Yeah, I like the Rams in this game, although my heart is kind of pulling for the Bears just because I think they're a great story. It's been a really long time since the Bears have looked this formidable. Caleb Williams has been shaky enough that even though he's been able to turn it on really well in the fourth quarter, like so many fourth quarter comebacks, including last week. I think that's something that could come back to bite them. If the Rams get up by a couple touchdowns, I don't think they're the team that these Bears and Caleb Williams can come back against. That being said, like, their defense has been so good at getting takeaways. If that's the kind of game we see, obviously the Rams are super vulnerable. But I like the Rams in this game. I think the magic's going to run out for Chicago, and I think that this might be the week that we finally see what you just said, the veteran presence of these Rams and the talent finally come to fruition and be like, yeah, we're that team in the NFC.
So Niners-Rams in an NFC championship game, proving that the NFC West is the best division in football. I mean, we already know that because 3 of the 4 teams that have made it to this point are all from the same division. And then on the opposite side, we're going Pats Broncos, and you're going Pats Bills.
Yeah, you're going Pats Broncos. I'm going Pats Bills. Be fun matchup either way in the AFC Championship game. Pats Broncos will feel like new blood, even though it's the Patriots, but it's like a brand new era of the Patriots. And Broncos, it's been 10 years, 11 years since they've been in this position.
Here's what I want: if Pats Broncos ends up being the AFC Championship game, I want Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and the regular broadcast team.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Yeah.
Those guys had their career-long rivalry with one another.
And if it's Bills-Pats, I want Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady. No, just kidding.
Nope.
It's not near as good.
I don't know how any of you people get behind the Bills, man. I can't. I just can't.
They're the Braves. Like, the Braves are that for me. I don't have a good. We've talked about this before. I don't have a good reason to not like them.
Yeah.
I just have never liked them. That's the Bills. Like, you don't like the cut of their jib.
I think it might just be teams from New York.
Okay.
Bills in the NFL. I used to be a huge Knicks fan. In the NFL specifically, Bills, don't like them, don't watch them even when they're good necessarily. The only reason that I've waffled on that is because they had, Utes. They had Starlo to Lele, they had Zach Moss. Now they've got Dalton, now they got Cole, they got Taron Johnson. There's all these
local connections.
So I'm just like, all right, fine, I'll watch that.
Do you like Josh Allen? No?
Yeah, he's fine.
All right. Weirdo.
The reason I don't like Josh Allen as much as other people do is because Josh Allen proved me wrong. When he was coming out of Wyoming and everyone was going bananas over him, I'm just like, because I had watched a lot of Utah State.
I wasn't one of those people at the time.
And I was just like, he's not going to be great. He wasn't even great at Wyoming.
Yeah, I was a huge skeptic too, but I just like how he's proved me wrong.
It's really weird because there's some guys, they go to like an easier level or an easier conference, right? And they're just like disgustingly dominant in that environment. And you're just like, oh, this guy. And obviously this is pre-transfer portal era. Nowadays, Josh Allen would not have been a Wyoming quarterback. He would have started there and he would have ended up at USC or whatever, right? But like Randy Moss at Marshall, you know what I mean? It's like obvious he doesn't belong there. That guy should be the best wide receiver wherever he's at. Josh Allen never did that, right? Cam Scatterbo was that. Cam Scatterbo at Sac State, you were just like, oh my. This is a man among boys. And then he went to Arizona State, and it was still, oh, my, this is a man among boys. And then he went to the NFL and just like, yep, he is who we thought he was going to be. Unfortunately, he got hurt. But, man, Josh Allen was not that. Josh Allen was just like a traits and tools kind of a pick, and he ended up living up to the hype. And I didn't think so, so that's why I'm not a big Josh Allen fan, because I don't like to be wrong.
See, that's what's hilarious about this dynamic, me and you, because I like that he proved us wrong.
No,
and he's just so fun to watch. Like, and also the other reason I can't deny as to why I've gravitated towards Josh Allen and pulling for the Bills most years in the playoffs in his tenure is that they're the anti-Chiefs, and
that's fair.
The Chiefs became the villain of the NFL unless you're a Chiefs fan, and so the fact that they were the team that looks like they could knock them off, it's endearing to me.
I will say I'm a big fan of Josh Allen's wife.
Oh, yes, Haley Steinfeld.
She was great as an addition to the Pitch Perfect franchise.
Yes.
Okay.
Shout out to Flashlight.
Her performance in True Grit, fantastic. I think that was like her first major movie. Sinners, have you seen Sinners yet?
I've not seen Sinners yet. I have to check that out.
She's good. She's a good actress.
Yeah, they're expecting now. Did you see that?
Congratulations.
Expecting their first child.
That's great.
My wife's over the moon for Joshy and Haley.
That child, congrats on your genetics. Well done.
Absolutely.
All right. Airing of grievances is next. Fire up the old texting fingers, 877-353-0700 or at Real OC Sports. Get the grievances off your chest before you head into the weekend. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. 877-353-0700. Air your grievance. 1388 says, grievance with James calling another grown man Joshy. Come on.
Hey, that's me because my wife doesn't have a radio show. I gotta represent for her. She's calling him Joshy.
That comes from Jace. Are you this person who texted in is named Jace? Jace, text in. Are you from Sandy? Are you from that family?
Oh, do you know because the last name?
Yeah.
Familiar last name there?
Yeah. Okay. 877-353-0700. Air your grievances. All right, I'm going to go. I got to get a couple things off my chest here, all right?
Sorry, I just saw that someone actually gave us their email for when sales guy Chad and the Seahawks lose. Anyway, you go ahead and get that off your chest.
I'm going to get this great. Okay, first of all, my household, there's a plague upon my front porch every day of Amazon packages, and I know that's not – I'm not going to air that grievance because, happy wife, happy life, but here's my problem, Amazon. If the product already comes in a box, if it's already boxed, don't put it in another box. Don't. I don't want to open the Amazon box and find like the whatever box. That happened so much over Christmas. That happened again yesterday. I slice open the box, and Amazon has done a marvelous job of their tape, that black tape they put on the boxes now. It is the exact right difficulty to get through, where you can't just like pop it open with your bare fingers, but you don't need anything special. You got a pencil, you got a key, you got a coin, anything. It's the exact right consistency.
Yeah, it's hard to do it just with your fingers, but it's not impossible either.
But then when you open that thing up and you see the box, and then there's just like some paper to fill the airspace and another box, don't do that. Just put the label on the box, the original box. Put an Amazon label, throw some Amazon tape around it. I don't want another box that I have to flatten out, that I have to feel guilty about destroying the rainforest and all the paper pulp. Stop it. There's enough boxes already in the world. Don't add boxes to put boxes in.
I hate this too, OC. And I don't know. It seemed like they haven't always done this. It seems like it's a relatively new thing where something that's already boxed needs another box. It doesn't need the box.
I think it's because they want it to be an Amazon box on your porch instead of it being like, that's a Nike box with an Amazon label on it.
Usually it's like the smaller boxed items. They put it in a bigger Amazon box. Just put it in the white Amazon bag then.
If you have to.
Just do that.
Just don't do it. Stop it. Spray paint it, Amazon spray paint. I don't care. Just don't give me extra boxes, please. Also, and this one has been sticking in my craw. I need to talk to someone at Big Utensil. All right? I'm sure that's an industry monopoly somewhere. Grievance against the fragile nature of plastic forks these days. I'm not exaggerating. The last 4 times I have eaten with a plastic fork, that fork is broken. Today I lost 2 tines.
Oh, no.
I'm having my hot lunch from Big Willie's. I'm trying to stab into a piece of that perfectly crispy chicken cutlet on the crispy Cobb salad, right? It's not excessively hard. It's delightful. It's got the right kind of crunch. And I try to put a fork into it, snap, snap.
No.
So now I finish my hot lunch with a 2-tine fork.
With the torque?
I don't like you plastic fork manufacturers right now. There was a time where a plastic fork had just the right amount of bend and give to it so it didn't snap like that. The integrity of the fork was maintained almost regardless of the pressure you put on it. Being realistic here. Now, you go beyond like 3 pounds of pressure, snap. It's garbage. Literally. You have to throw it in the garbage after that. So those are my grievances today, James.
Yeah, I in regards to that, I used to make fun of my dad all the time because he would bite down so hard that he would break the tongs off plastic forks. Not every time, but enough times that it was like, geez, like you don't have to eat the utensil too, Dad. Now you can do that even if you don't bite down the way my dad used to bite down on plastic forks. I'm with you. They didn't make them the way they used to, OC. Or they don't make them the way they used to.
Do you want to air a grievance before I get to the text line here?
We can get to the text line.
All right. 3869, grievance, foreign cabals. Now think we all run like Lamar from Revenge of the Nerds. Yes, a callback to earlier in the show today when the Pat McAfee show had a nerd relay on, and you were showing red-blooded American males running around in their, like, late 20s, early 30s, looking as though they had never run in their lives.
There was one in particular. There was a couple of the guys on the relay crew, is particularly I think the third guy who ran.
Third guy was great.
Was incredible.
And big boy at the end. Big fat guy at the end.
Probably O-lineman.
You know what?
High level.
He's run before.
Yeah.
You could tell that guy's run before. He had some coordination. The first two guys, it was a travesty. It was incredibly embarrassing.
The second guy in particular, arms flailing. I'm watching it. I found myself watching it and going, he's going to fall over. And then miraculously he didn't. I especially thought when they had as you pointed out, not that deep of a steep of an incline, but they had at the dip at the end, I thought he was going to go down.
Yeah, well,
and he didn't. So
2289, I share your grievance. I cannot bring it to the air. Okay? I'm sorry. I hope you understand. Jordan Peters, grievance on everyone doubting the Niners this weekend. I do believe they're going to win. Go Niners. All right. I like that. Anti-grievance on you. The opposite of a grievance. Support. Grievance. I don't typically complain about the weather in our great state, but no snow, no moisture really of any kind, and now inversion is not fun. Look, I've actually really enjoyed the mild winter. I know we need water. I know that the ski resorts need their snow. You got a nice little storm that gave them a good base to lay on. The inversion, though, really does suck. It is gross. It's like soupy and thick.
Ugh, it's terrible. And I like many people have family members who have asthma or that kind of related stuff going on, and so you feel for those people in your lives too that happen to live up here.
Brown Bear says the Bears are dangerous because they don't realize they aren't supposed to be there, riding high on their own supply of belief right now. I like supply of belief as a phrase. I don't like that the Bears think they can win.
Well, I mean, Brown Bear, of course, is a supporter of all the Bears, even the Chicago Bears in this case. So that makes sense. He's not a Bears fan, but he has to support other Bears.
List of grievances. We got a whole list of grievances from 1943. I like this 1943. Thank you for your engagement.
List of grievances.
Grievance number 1, not hearing Scott Mitchell on the air anymore. I hope his health isn't the reason he's no longer on. To my knowledge, Scott is fully healthy and good, as far as we know. Grievance number 2, Utah Jazz, Dallas Mavs last night. On the positive side, Utah took care of Dallas on the ice here at home last night. That's right. Mammoth Stars was a lot more important in the short term than Jazz Mavs.
The last one's got me laughing already.
1943 says, grievance on us.
You got to give him the Voldemort treatment as you're reading this grievance.
Giving the former head coach the Voldemort treatment. His name is not Voldemort. Look, we're doing it tongue in cheek, but it's an overcompensation because we were talking the head coach of Utah football is Morgan Bleepin Scally moving forward. Okay, we are the only sports talk radio program in the country that was spending a week talking about the guy that just left. Now, had it been a retirement, the tributes would extend into the new year, into the new season, right? And when he does walk away and retire from the game, I will be the first to say, all right, now build the statue. Now let's forget about the ugly end, and now let's talk about the legacy and how great it was and those special 21 years and whatever. But, man, I was sick of hearing my own self say that name over and over and over again because he was gone, and he is gone. And because of that, we're going to do the Voldemort thing.
He also adds Go Broncos at the end. Is that part of the list of grievances? You're no, I'm just kidding.
Okay, yeah,
good for him. I will say I only have one problem with his list of grievances, and that is grievance Jazz versus Mavs. No, it was a positive outcome for both the professional teams that played Dallas last night. The Jazz lost, which is something they need to do for one more year, and the Mammoth got a gutty win against a really good Stars team. So I disagree with grievance number 2.
46-11. This is a phenomenal grievance. All right. Grievance. People walk their dogs, bring a bag to pick up the poop, but then leave the bag for others to pick up. Come on, folks. What's up with that? I cannot tell you how much I hate this. All right. I live very close to one of the trailheads on the Bonneville Shoreline Trail. Everybody takes their dogs up there. There is a bag dispenser right at the trailhead. So everyone has a bag, whether they're responsible dog owners or not. You're just like, oh, yeah, I forgot one. Bag dispenser. Pop this thing. And then I don't know what the percentage is. It feels like probably 30 to 40% of people, they will bag the poop, but then just tie it in a little bow and leave it on the side of the trail. And maybe your intention is that I don't want to carry it the whole way on my hike. I'll pick it up on the way back, but then you never do.
Yeah,
everyone forgets.
That makes sense. Who wants to carry a bag of poop around with them?
I'll tell you what, I don't want to do it.
Got to pick it up on the way back.
I don't want to do it, James. I do it every single morning. You want to know why I do it every single morning? Because Rocky, who's here with me in the studio, my guy Rocky, who's just, hi, yeah, he's we're talking about him. Hi, bud. The handsomest dog in the world.
You can, that's your pant leg. That's the khaki pants is similar to his coat. My bad. I was going to say you might be able to see him on the YouTube channel.
I don't want to mess with that.
Well, if he comes out and sprawls out on the ground behind you like he's want to do.
Here's the thing.
You'll be able to see him.
I walk Rocky to school with my daughter every morning, right? And Rocky's morning routine is he's got a whole load built up overnight. Okay.
He's a big dog, too.
He's 135-ish pounds right now. Okay.
He's huge.
He's a growing boy.
He's a Mastiff, so think of the beast from Sandlot. That's him.
And he will deposit his offering every single morning on the way home from the walk to school. It's in one of 2 neighbors' lawns. He only likes to do it in these 2 lawns. All right. And guess whose job it is to pick that bad boy up? It's me. And do I want to do it? No. You know how much I hate putting the bag over my hand and using it as like a plastic glove? It's the worst feeling in the world. And because of the volume we're talking about here, he's a big dog.
You got both
I
hands.
have large hands, James. If I was a quarterback at the NFL Combine, I'd be in like the top 5 every year, okay? I've measured. And I have to kind of like, you got to do like the gather, which means you got to engage with it a lot longer than you want to. Oh, no. But I'm a master of the fold over, whoosh, tie that bad boy shut. Now, do you think I leave that on the sidewalk?
Absolutely not.
Do you think that I just casually drop it in the gutter to be washed downstream to the bottom of the avenues where all you peasants live? No. All right?
That felt unnecessary, the peasants.
It was. I carry that thing uphill, and James weighs at least a pound every morning, okay?
Oh, my gosh.
I carry that thing uphill.
Woof, Rocky.
And I finish the walk, and I throw it in the outdoor garbage, or every once in a while, if I see a garbage that's out like on the street, I'll put it in somebody else's garbage. But I'm putting it where it belongs. That is one of the best grievances that we've had, Air. If you are it's honestly better that you not even pick it up if you're going to leave it in the bag somewhere, because at least it'll biodegrade if you just leave it out it dries out after a couple of days. It turns all crumbly. It's not the end of the world.
The flies will have a nice dinner.
You know what I mean? Like,
whatever. If
you're going to leave it in a bag where it's just going to humidify it, gross.
Yeah, I absolutely despise this as well. And there's people that get mad when it's trash day and everyone's garbage can is out. Why are you putting your dog's poop in my trash can? Put it in my trash can. I don't care. Just don't leave it out. I also have to ask, are these neighbors that is Rocky's preferred toilet? Are they?
Thankfully, they're dog people.
Yeah, they're not the ones that have the sign that says, "Please don't, please be nice and don't let your dog pee on my lawn."
No, there is someone who we go one of two walking routes.
I was hoping they would be.
We go one of two walking routes. He comes on the morning walk, and then I take him on a night or an evening walk, right?
Yeah.
And one of the walking routes, there's a person who has that like no dogs on the lawn type sign. And I'm just like, please. I understand. I don't want dogs pooping on my lawn and it not being picked up. But don't even let your dog pee on my grass. Don't let your dog poop on. Stop it.
Yeah. I understand the not wanting poop on the grass more than the pee on the grass. Don't let them pee on my grass sign is so stupid. Like, why did anyone let those signs get made? Why would anyone make those signs for anyone? Maybe they make them for themselves using a website or something. It's ridiculous.
Crevens, too much Rocky talk, not enough Rocky shot on the YouTube stream.
Yeah. He likes to hide under the desk.
Yeah, he's just a good dog. He likes to sit under the desk. This thing is too Grievance, the cameras are too stationary, okay? I don't know what you want me to do.
Tell you what, in the break, I'm
going to post a picture of Rocky on Twitter so everyone can find him.
Let's do that.
All right?
Let's do that.
I'll do that. That's a more successful errand here.
By the way, Jace did respond. He is of that family.
Yeah. And shout out to the Babkas. All right, 59-27. Grievance number 2. I also echo your first grievance. I'm not going to get into it. Grievance number 2. Places offering one-topping pizzas for $9.99. Offer pizzas with lots of toppings. Well, okay, it's not like
we would all love that.
You can get pizzas with lots of toppings. They're not going to stop you from getting pizzas with extra toppings.
It costs a little bit more than $10.
It's going to be more than $9.99. That's it.
I love that. Offer pizzas with lots of toppings.
All right. Great job airing your grievances. We'll give you a couple more minutes to do so during the break. 877-353-0700. Unburden yourselves and head into the weekend free. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, wrapping up the Sean O'Connell Show on a Friday with the airing of grievances. Now it's time for Crosstalk. The Drive and Spence Checketts are coming up next. Crosstalk is brought to you by our friends over at Advanced Window Products. 801-850-9100, $2,500 off, 10 windows or more. Quick giveaway. Big Willie's gift card to give away. 877-353-0700. NFL playoff weekend coming. Give me. Hey, my dog is eating whatever's in the garbage can right now. That's probably not going to be good for me later today. Give me the last year that the Buffalo Bills won an AFC championship. 877-353-0700. I know we're not to that point in the playoffs yet, but there's a lot of believers out there in the Buffalo Bills. People airing grievances against me for not believing. When's the last time they won an AFC championship game? 877-353-0700. Spence Checketts, how are you?
I'm well, Sean. I'm well. How are you?
Great.
Good. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
Today you have because sometimes you have the freshly coiffed haircut because you have TV on the horizon. Were you wearing a beanie prior to jumping in the studio?
I was wearing a hat.
A hat. Okay.
Just like a regular ball cap.
So just like instant reaction if I saw you today.
Is that guy's wearing a beanie?
No, it would be that guy has 3 daughters. that guy is raising 3 young daughters, and he's doing his best. Somebody give that guy a hug.
Thank you for telling me that I look terrible.
No, not terrible.
That's what you're trying to say.
No, just
it's what a friend does. When you look bad, your friend's like, "Hey, man, lock it up."
No,
thank you.
You just look like you're going through it a little bit.
Okay,
but maybe you are.
It might just because of how many times I've taken the headphones on and off today.
Yeah, that's probably it. That's why I wear a hat when I do the show because it'll get in the way of the hair. But
Andrei Kirilenko's on my television. I want to know why.
You ever hear about his arrangement with his wife?
Speaking of hair, I respect the fact that he's stuck with that haircut for the last 30 years.
Why is Andrei Kirilenko on NBA Today?
That's what I'm asking. I don't
weird.
know. It's like we're muted in here. I can't tell you what he's talking about.
Yeah, I have no idea. So Kirilenko was wishing the NBA Today producer a happy birthday. Oh, wow. What a random NBA player to call in to wish you a happy birthday. Due respect to AK, who was great, had a great career.
Love that.
That caught me off guard.
Here's a weird grievance.
What do we got?
3061. 2 for the price of 1 shoes. I only want 1 pair, so how about half off? What? What?
Huh.
You're having a grievance against a great sale?
Yeah, that sounds
a
like
BOGO?
That sounds like a good deal.
Buy one, get one? All right.
Any grievances? My favorite Friday grievances are the ones that come in about me unsolicited. Do we have any today?
No, none today.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh, you haven't upset people this week.
I feel like I have.
Must be losing your fastball.
I feel like I upset people every single day.
If you haven't bothered the listeners so they have to tell me about it, you're really losing your touch.
Yeah, I will. You know what? Today I pledge to upset our listeners. I will do what I can to make people. It's not a goal. It's just kind of part of my personality, I guess.
Okay,
I'm working on it.
All right.
Sean, I'm doing deep inner work. You don't understand.
I don't.
I'm
I
looking.
hate all that stuff.
I'm looking in the mirror. Okay, I'm doing the deep inner work to figure out how I can be better and leave space for others to be themselves and express themselves fully, and then calm my central nervous system so I can be regulated.
I'm sorry, I tuned you out as soon as you started.
I tuned myself out. That's
you started talking with that self-help drivel. I was just like done for.
But that's the way people talk now.
Not normals, not regular people, not most people.
It's people that see a therapist, and I'm using air quotes, on Instagram or TikTok to tell you how you should live your life, or, everyone's reading the same self-help book. So I'm trying to lean in to progressing as a person and finding my authentic self.
Yeah, okay. All right. I think that you might not find grievance with catchphrase language.
Yes. Yes.
You might not find a person on the planet who hates catchphrase language, catchphrase. I'm making a point using a term that I don't even really know what it means.
Yeah.
I think I hate that more than every other living person.
I'm not far behind you.
Oh man, I am. Like, even if you have a great point and you're trying to tell me something heartfelt and important, if you use something like that, like being true to myself or whatever, I'm just like, oh, I hate you now.
Yes. No, I'm not far behind you. And all of it really is a smokescreen and a cover up for bad behavior. Like I'm at capacity, I'm having experience. Now you're acting like a horrible person. Like that's really all it is. Anyway, what anything new on social media circulating over the past 24 hours that is notable? Or
I'm sure you'll get into that on your show today.
Were you at the Mammoth game last night?
I was not, but I watched it at home.
It's a good win for them.
It was awesome. Those final 5-ish minutes where, I mean, you have one of the best teams in the league kind of like rallying after a long road trip.
Yeah.
They pull the goalie, and they're just flooding your defensive zone with offense. And for guys like Gunther to have to just get gritty and dump that thing out over and over, icing call after icing call, Stenlin winning a bunch of faceoffs. It was really, really cool to see them fight it out for those last 5 minutes or so and get a win over one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, Dallas, I think, is third in the league in goals, right? Something like that, third or fourth. Hold them to a goal, power play goal in the third quarter. And then every time I watch them, more often than not, I feel like they are being bullied. And last night I thought was the exception. They actually out-hit Dallas. The final face-off, they won like 43 face-offs to 21. So it was like an un-Mammoth type win. But I feel like now this has been the longest homestand of the season. They had to make hay here. I feel like we've kind of turned a little bit of a corner where the consistency is back, which is good.
And to do it without Cooley in the lineup is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because that's one of your best players. When you get him back healthy, it's only an addition. It's the poor man's version of the Florida Panthers killing it, and then, oh, look, we got Tkachuk back now. Mm-hmm. You're just like, oh, an embarrassment of riches. If you can be playing like this without one of your best guys, especially one of your best scorers, then it's only going to get better.
Do you have any confidence in your San Francisco 49ers to win at Lumen Field in Seattle tomorrow night?
Yeah, I do, because, they're a team that is winning against the odds, and those odds are not changing just because it's Seattle, right? They're like, Seattle's a good team, and you lost to them a couple of weeks ago, but now you've got Sam Darnold with a bit of an oblique issue. Him being less than 100% could potentially help you. I think that, the Niners believe that they can do that, and at the end of the day, if you're down somebody like George Kittle, and you're down Fred Warner, and you're down Nick Bosa, you could have folded this thing up in week 7.
Yeah.
But here they are.
Well, in the game a few weeks ago, I mean, Seattle left points on the board, right? Because they were 0 of 3 in the red zone. They had some missed field goals. But Darnold hasn't thrown for a touchdown against San Fran this year, and that's fully healthy. And I know they're without Kittles, but that Tongas kid is a good player. So I think the Darnold injury actually evens the playing field a little bit more. But I ask you because I am currently in the process of divorcing the New York Football Jets. And my rebound will be my childhood team, which was the San Francisco 49ers.
I like that. Okay. So we can be Niner friends together.
Oh, dude, I had a Steve Young jersey that I wore all the time. My favorite jacket back in the day was my gold Niners jacket. And
the gold starter, like, bomber jacket.
Did you have that?
Yes.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
Do you want to go do Kung Fu in the garage? I don't even remember what the line was.
Karate, but yeah.
Karate, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I moved back east and unfortunately made the biggest sin of my life as far as my sports fandom, choosing the Jets, and then sadly passing it on to my son, who at the age of 24 is still upset with me. I've told him, I've told him, I'm like, go, fly away, little bird. Like, go find your own team. But he is loyal to the Jets. Did you see the video surfacing this year of the kid who was interviewed outside of the stadium? He's like, I hate this team.
Yes.
That is my son. That is my child.
He's like a 12-year-old kid.
I hate this team.
I hate this team.
It was so sincere.
Yeah,
dude.
it's heartfelt. And it was like the core of him was in that moment feeling like, why did someone make me into a Jets fan? I hate it.
I was born into this.
Yeah.
I hate this team. So
that's great.
I'm pulling hard for the Niners tomorrow. Let's hope they can get it done.
All right. Go to Big Willie's to watch that, 1717 South Main. They will have all of the games this weekend and on Monday night with the College Football National Championship. Stay tuned for the drive with Spence Checketts. It might get spicy, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it. He promised spice. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.